off into the 50s for Monday and Tuesday. We're warmer than that now. It's cloudy and 60 degrees in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterey, KMOX News.
Chris Ranji, Amy Mark Scores, The Chris and Amy Show.
Check it out. St. Louis, Mound City, we are going to have a great day today.
On 104.1 FM.
Let's take it from the top.
KMOX.
It's Friday, and guess who we've got in Studio B? John Hancock.
Half a loaf. You got half a loaf over here.
Half a loaf. I'm half a loaf. Together, we're one big loaf because Chris Ranji is visiting his family in Chicago, the wife and kids.
Ugh.
Good on him. And Michael Kelly is out gallivanting somewhere. Florida.
Yes.
And so someone has to hold down the fort. And by golly, it's John Hancock.
Here we are.
And me, Amy Mark Scores. We thank you for listening to us on, well, if you're on 1120 a.m. and you haven't checked out 104.1 FM, try the FM. It's beautiful. It's clear. You can also listen on the Odyssey app. You can find your favorite show, maybe rewind a little live radio if you need to. And you can also listen to us on the podcast. Subscribe to the Chris and Amy Show podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
Time now for the top of the order. The top 3 stories everyone will be talking about.
I don't know how good the show will be today because I'm dragging because I stayed up late for me to watch the St. Louis University Billikens defeat Georgia 102-77 in round 1 of the NCAA tournament. The Billikens play Michigan in round 2 tomorrow. Tip-off at 11:10. You can hear that game on 11:20 a.m. KMOX.
That was impressive last night. A 102-77 victory and the downtown juvenile curfew in response to the street takeover begins tonight. Elliot Davis joins Amy at 10 o'clock.
So you paid for it, Elliot Davis.
That's him.
That's right. And we are less than 1 week away from opening day. The Cardinals will take on the New York Mets today in a little preseason baseball, 12:05. But real baseball, regular season, John, opening day, the holiday for all of St. Louis. Next Thursday, less than a week.
Excited for this season. I mean, I know we're probably not going to do much, but we're going to learn a lot about a lot of our young players. And I think the core of this team is solid. And there's a lot down in the pipeline to look forward to.
Do you have, speaking of pipes, do you have your broadcasting pipes warmed up for when you do your own play-by-play of the game in Michael Kelly's season tickets?
I'm ready. I'm ready to call the action.
To the delight of the surrounding fans.
Mason Wynn steps up to the plate and he digs in. Here's the first outside, ball 1. How's that sound?
Can you imagine you buy tickets to a Cardinals game and you think, well, this is going to be good. Man, I wish I could listen to the broadcast. I don't have my radio. I'm not going to, And then all of a sudden you hear the play-by-play coming from behind you.
Yes.
And it's John Hancock.
It is. People come from inches around just to experience this.
Well, we brought up the Billikens.
We did.
John, did you stay up and watch that game?
Yes.
It was very exciting.
They put a
Billikens
whopping.
put 120 on them tonight. They win at 102-77. Unbelievable performance by the Billikens over the 8th seed out of the SEC, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Fun to watch. I always assume the worst. I realized watching the game last night. See, I didn't always really follow college basketball. I would follow it during March Madness, but I didn't really follow it all season.
Right.
Until the St. Louis University Billikens.
Man, they had that win streak, and then at the end of the season, they, seemingly the wheels were coming off. They lost, 4 games in their last 8?
Josh Schertz, Robbie Avila, you get emotionally involved in the team, and it was not fun watching the game last night. It was so stressful, even though they were up.
Oh, the
they were
entire
up
game.
The entire game handily. They didn't even have a stressful first half, which is what they do. When you are emotionally involved, it's exhausting. I think it's been a while since I've been this emotionally involved.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Oh, well, they're a fun team, and they had a great season. Michigan's going to be a pretty tall order tomorrow. the number 1 seed. Many people expecting the Michigan Wolverines to run the table and win the entire tournament. But to do that, they're going to have to get through St. Louis U.
And Josh Schertz talking after the Billikens again defeated Georgia 102-77.
They're the best team. I think the favorites to win the national championship. But, it's a one-game deal. And we just got to beat them once. We don't got to beat them 4. And we'll do everything we can to prepare as well as we can. We know what we're up against. We know how good they are. And we'll have to play our best game of the season and give ourselves a chance.
Coach Schertz talking about upcoming Michigan again tomorrow at 11:10. That's going to be that's going to be a tough one. I like what he said though. You don't have to beat them in a series.
Right.
You just got to beat them once.
One day.
You just got to get lucky
this
once.
would be the biggest win in the history of St. Louis University should they win this game on Saturday afternoon. So, must watch, must listen, because we're going to carry the game live here on KMOX.
We are, and it's going to be on 11:20 because I believe on the FM it will be Cardinals baseball tomorrow afternoon. So Cardinals baseball will be on 104.1 FM, and then we have Billikens basketball 11:10 tip off on 11:20 a.m.
Were you surprised that Josh Schertz signed the extension with St. Louis U? Because a lot of people thought he was going to be moving on after this impressive season.
I feel like it's. I don't have any insider information or insight into whether or not Josh Schertz would be sniped by another team. And again, maybe it's just me expecting the worst. I think I thought he would be. I thought it because with the way college sports works now, whether it's the players jumping from one team to the next or the coaches jumping from one team to the next, I did feel that could happen. I did hear a sports pundit, forgetting his name now. He was asked about Josh Schertz signing an extension with St. Louis University. And his explanation was, well, there weren't really any super desirable open jobs this time around. So just because he signed this contract doesn't mean that he can bounce to another school were a better opportunity or an opportunity that he couldn't turn down arise.
Yeah, but I've listened to several of his interviews talking about Coach Schertz, and he genuinely loves living in St. Louis. The family is, acclimated, and they enjoy it. And we talk about how tough things are in our town, and they are, and we're losing population. All of those demographic things are real. But when you look at it, if you just take a step back and look at what we have, what it costs to live here, how seemingly great the traffic is because there is none.
Yeah.
And all the amenities that exist in St. Louis and all of the great educational institutions that are here, this place ain't so bad.
No, it's the way I always put it. It's easy to live in St. Louis. It really is, in the sense that, I get it. We all have our own struggles and life is expensive. But when you are comparing cost of housing, cost of living, like you said, traffic, accessibility to parks and free public amenities like the History Museum or the Art Museum or the zoo. These places they just aren't free in other cities. Yeah. So it is, relatively speaking, a very affordable city to live. It's an easy city to live. You can get around. You can travel miles at a time. I actually spoke with an older couple who moved to the Kirkwood area from New England. And I thought, man, they lived on the coast in New England, and they also had lived in Boston. They had their awesome New England accents. I love New England accents. And I asked them, well, this is a big change for you. Why did you move here? And they said, well, we would come here and visit our grandkids. Our grandkids, came here, and our kids went to school at Wash U. But we fell in love with St. Louis. They loved how easy it was to live here compared to the East Coast. Yeah. And they bought a home in Kirkwood, and they said, we'll never go back. We'll never go back to the East Coast. She goes, I love, the little neighborhoods in St. Louis are such a gem. And like you said, I always complain about traffic, because it's unnecessary, because there shouldn't be any traffic. So like Roger Brand will say, there's a 1-car accident on 40. You have no one to blame but yourselves. And that's exactly how I feel is we don't have any traffic. Whenever there's traffic, it's because someone was being stupid and caused a crash.
The other thing we have here that I appreciate is food.
Yes.
I mean, this is a great cuisine in St. Louis, and you can get anything you like, and it's top quality.
I have a question, and this is a really good question about the Odyssey app. We had a texter, Matt, you might know. A 314 wants to know if the Cardinals game is on the KMOX FM and the Billikens game is on the KMOX AM, and you have the Odyssey app. Should we get our research team on that?
I'm going to get a research
team.
team.
We're going to get our research team on that.
Steve?
That's a great question.
Well, I tried this the other day.
Okay.
Because something was on the AM that I wanted. It must have been the Cardinals. And I could not get the AM signal from the Odyssey app. Maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 days ago.
All right.
So there you have it.
Thank you. My
pleasure.
I believe, John, we'll get confirmation, but that does make sense that I think it is the primary signal.
Yep.
That will be on the Odyssey app. So huge win for the Billikens. I will say this, just as we wrap up on the first day of March Madness. Both of my brackets are destroyed because High Point,
Wisconsin,
the number 12 seed High Point, which I had never heard of. I thought High Point was
the theater,
the burger and the theater. Yeah, right there at Skinker. And High Point upset number 5 seed Wisconsin 83-82. It is pretty fun that if you are on the Twitter or on socials, they had the student radio calling that game. And it was fun to hear those kids so excited to have their team upset number 5 Wisconsin. But I imagine that blew up a lot of brackets.
Any upsets in the March Madness?
We're still in the first round of voting.
Yep.
Yeah. We always have scandal with March Madness. And let's see. At Chris Amy KMOX will be the Twitter where you can vote in the poll. We're posting it on Chris and Amy Facebook or KMOX Facebook, but it brings you back to Twitter, correct?
Yeah.
To vote. So make sure you scroll down. Vote for all of the teams in the round of 64. Hooters South County lost to Sasha's Wine Bar in the play-in.
Hooters is out.
Hooters South County is out. And it was a come-from-behind victory for Sasha's.
You don't say.
I know.
How about Sasha out there?
I know. So a little bit of an upset. That's John Hancock. I'm Amy Mark Scores. John's going to sit with me for the hour before Brad Young comes in at 10. I'm going to ask John about that juvenile curfew in the city of St. Louis that takes effect tonight. This is the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
Giddy up! It's the Cardinal Cowboy. Is your garage door past its prime? Get a free repair or replacement quote from Renner Garage Door. Renner is America's oldest family-owned garage door company that serves both wholesale and retail markets. Right now, get $100 off a new garage door when you mention this ad. With trusted brands like Delden, Amar, LiftMaster, you know it's built to win. Renner's also hiring experienced techs and installers. RennerDoorSTL.com. Forward and back.
RENNER, RENNER.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. So as you know, I'm a lawyer, haven't practiced in a long time, but I did plaintiff's work and defense work, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. I have a pretty good idea of who's who in the firmament of plaintiffs' attorneys. And for my money, Mark Cantor is the guy. He's a great attorney. He is a great practitioner. He's put together a great team. He was born and raised here. He lives here. He works here. He wins here. Call 314-628-ALL-9s or CantorInjuryLaw.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based on advertising.
Looking for something smart, soulful, and full of heart? I'm Jen Hatmaker, host of For the Love, the podcast where we talk about what really matters. Love and family, faith and purpose. Every week, I'm joined by incredible guests for honest conversations that invite all of us to live with more intention, more laughter, and more connection. Join us on For the Love wherever you get your podcasts.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it.
Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, so when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Spreadsheets, clunky software, 100 different logins just to run your business? Ah.
There's a better way. Odoo. One simple, connected platform that handles sales, inventory, accounting, and more, so you can focus on growing, not juggling. Make the switch today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Unlock a brighter outdoor space in 2026 with Chesterfield Valley Nursery. Let us be your trusted partner for all your landscaping, lawn, and gardening needs, empowering you to create a haven that brings joy and serenity to your life. From landscape design to property maintenance to our garden center, we're here for you. Houseplants, tree shrubs, organic soil mixes, gardening and plant classes, and more. Chesterfield Valley Nursery's Garden Center has what you need no matter what the season. Visit us weekdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday hours start in March. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram for all class and sale updates.
You can feel the Clydesdales circling the field. Hear the stands come alive. Smell the hot dogs, the popcorn, and cold beer in the air. See the crowd rise as the first pitch hits the glove. And just like that, a new season begins. The countdown is on until opening day, and tickets start at just $49. Don't miss St. Louis's favorite holiday. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/opening day.
Swings, and it's a high fly ball. That's hit deep. It's a gunner! It's a gunner! And a game winner!
Start the season in style on Saturday, March 28th. The Cardinals welcome the Tampa Bay Rays for a spring showdown downtown. That day, you can score a lightweight Cardinals pullover, a navy blue look built for early season nights, and easy everyday wear. Comfortable, classic, and ready for cool evenings at the ballpark. It's a layer you'll reach for all season long. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Want to build income without a second job? Learn how real estate investing can help you create extra income one step at a time with Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
100 years of service and still at your service. KMOX.
Well, KMOX and, the other news outlets around town have been reporting on the street takeover that happened last weekend. Really tragic, really awful that 7 people got shot on one night,
horrible,
including a 14-year-old girl and a 17-year-old. There were multiple street takeovers, including the wide open intersections, like on Gravois there, more in South City. And we know Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer had talked about that intersection. It's kind of a weird triangle intersection. There's lots of room. We talk about how big Tucker is. And when there's no traffic and you have these city streets that are the width of interstates, it can encourage reckless driving. And that's exactly what happened. And so the city of St. Louis, the police department, they announced there will be a curfew in effect this weekend starting tonight, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. The curfew is set for individuals who are 17 years old or younger. John, do you think a curfew can have some effect?
Well, we'll see. That had to be coordinated last weekend, right? I mean, that wasn't organic. So there was some level of coordination and communication, and it involved, I'm guessing, hundreds of kids?
Yep. At multiple locations.
Yeah.
Because the police presence was overwhelmed. There were cop cars that did show up on the scene and pretty much kind of mocked by the kids because they were outnumbered.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, 100 to 1.
Yeah. And so the curfew, I guess my question is, how do you enforce it? So if you've got, if it's a random kid or two, that's not a problem. But if they're out after curfew, I guess they're going to get arrested or who knows. But if it's hundreds of kids, as it was last weekend, then I don't know that a curfew is going to have any effect whatsoever. And, one of the problems societally is that so many of these kids are coming from dysfunctional homes where, oftentimes there's no father present in the home. And, in the best of circumstances, the mother is probably working one or two jobs. And, it's a recipe for this sort of thing. And you hate to see it.
And I don't know where all of the kids are coming from, because we do know that messages about street takeovers spread on social media.
Right.
And St. Louis has in the past attracted kids from other towns, other townships, because they know, well, St. Louis is the place to go. There's plenty of room. It's a downtown. There'll be hundreds of people there. We're going to outnumber the cops. This is where you go. So my understanding is that from the last street takeover, no one has been arrested. So I'm not sure that we have the data, or at least if it's been released, on the percentage of kids who came from other cities, came from other towns to be downtown. So at any rate, I guess it does give police an extra tool in their belt to have that curfew at 10 p.m. But the number, when you hear that just under 10 years ago, there were 1,400 cops in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And now they're under 900.
Yeah, that's a real problem. And, we've got this ongoing debate with the police board that wants to raise salaries and make it more attractive to work in St. Louis City, because we're losing officers. There are 55 police departments in St. Louis County.
Yeah.
55.
It's a lot.
And many of them pay higher than does the city of St. Louis. And so, we're losing potential police officers where crime is most pronounced, and we're losing them to some of these municipal departments that are just paying more. And you don't solve that problem without raising the salaries of the police officers in the city.
And I am definitely not someone who wants to let perfect be the enemy of good, meaning just because it won't solve the entire problem, I don't think it is pointless to have a curfew. I think it's worth having. Any tool that you can give to law enforcement, just because it won't solve the whole problem doesn't mean, well, don't have it at all. I do think there's something to be said for letting people know, letting people who might be considering getting into trouble, letting them know, hey, we're paying attention to this. We're watching this. We are going to have police and law enforcement out on the streets, because when it does come to crime deterrence, it's not about like, oh, how severe is the punishment? Are there going to be law enforcement officers there? And is there a good chance that someone might catch me, regardless of how severe the punishment is?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know, and maybe you know, maybe you don't, whether the police were caught off guard last weekend, or were they monitoring the social media activity and seeing that something was likely to happen? Do we know the answer to that?
I don't know. Just from what I've seen with the images and the reporting, I hope they were caught off guard, I guess, because if that was their response, being prepared, I don't know how prepared it looked, unless the numbers were just so overwhelming, because we do know that they were calling police officers in on their off day, working overtime. I think every officer who was even remotely available was called into work that day.
So maybe they did know something was afoot.
Perhaps. And I don't know if they knew the exact locations, but the fact that these street takeovers with fireworks, with guns, there's a flamethrower.
Right.
A flamethrower. And then a literal circle of fire on the ground that people were running in and out of. Cars were spinning donuts and racing. When you have that erupt in multiple locations and your law enforcement's outnumbered, you're right. Even if you are prepared for it,
right,
what are you going to do?
Well, I certainly hope they're monitoring the situation for this weekend, and we got to hope for the best.
Yeah, I think they will. I think the city was able to pull it together for the U.S. figure skating championships.
Yeah.
Which was a big deal
That
to
was a
have
big
that
deal.
security
Yeah.
around Enterprise Center. And they want to have security at the highest level for these first and second round basketball games. If you got a
Absolutely.
national spotlight on you, St. Louis already has less than pristine reputation when it comes to safety and crime. So they would have to pull out all the stops to make sure this area is safe.
Yeah, and I think that may even involve bringing some county police officers in to St. Louis City. And, that's another topic for another day, but it would be kind of cool, I think, if we had one large police force for St. Louis City and County.
We're going to follow up on that. I have a question for you about that. That's John Hancock. I'm Amy Mark Scored. It is the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
St. Louis, can you feel it? It's back
Welcome to opening day.
to tradition,
The majestic Budweiser Clydesdales.
the sound of baseball in the air. Thursday, March 26th is opening day. We show up, we wear red, we stand together. New season, fresh start. Your St. Louis Cardinals are ready. And all season long, every moment lives here. 104.1 FM KMOX, the voice of the Cardinals.
Join us for the Rally With Us MLB Opening Day events on March 25th, 9 to 1 p.m. at the Rally House Brentwood Point location. There'll be a live broadcast, giveaways, and the first 100 customers through the doors receive a Valley House Opening Day scratcher ticket. And don't forget to pick up your opening day gear while you stop in. Rally House is your home for outrageously authentic Cardinals gear, on-field hats, jerseys, and apparel straight from the source. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
Now, KMOX weather from the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
It's sunny outside Studio B, 61 degrees, partly sunny and very warm today with the temperature tying the record high from 2017, a high of 86. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 51.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Here in St. Louis, word of mouth still matters, and I'm pretty careful about who I recommend, especially when it comes to something as personal as estate planning. I'm Tom Ackerman. My family has been working with the Lederman Law Firm for over 20 years now, and the reason is simple. They don't just create documents and send you on your way. They help make sure your plan works. Because let's be honest, life changes. Family needs and circumstances change. Laws change. But most estate plans don't change over time as needs, circumstances, and laws change. They're outdated, sitting in a drawer. People assume they're fine, and their plan will work when they need it to work. At the Lederman Law Firm, it's not a one-time transaction. It's an ongoing process. They build a plan to protect your family and your assets, and then for a fixed annual fee, they help keep it up to date as both your life and assets change. Check out the Lederman Law Firm at LedermanLaw.com or give them a call at 314-514-9100. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Hey guys, Kevin Wheeler here, and it is time for the madness in FanDuel Sportsbook, which is the official sportsbook here at KMOX. Mine as well. Right now, they're doing everything they can to amp up the excitement of the month of March in college basketball as well. What FanDuel's doing is they're dropping bonus bets into everyone's account for the tournament. So all you have to do is opt in to claim your bonus. You can use them on the same games that you're picking in your bracket, right? You can use them on money lines and spreads, totals, game props, same game parlays. And remember that these bonus bets are only available for a limited time. So you want to visit FanDuel.com/Missouri to learn more. And of course, with FanDuel Sportsbook, even if your bracket goes out early, you don't have to. You can continue to play along and have fun throughout the tournament. FanDuel, it is time to dance. Just remember, you have to be 21 or older and present in Missouri. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $500 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
If you live in Missouri, have Medicaid, and need a caregiver, this message is important. Care at home is personal. That's why you may not want a stranger in your home to take care of you. You want someone who already knows you and your daily routines. With Freedom Care, you choose a trusted family member, a friend, or a neighbor. They will get paid after every shift to care for you, and it's 100% free to you. More than 70,000 people have already joined the Freedom Care family. Call your local Freedom Care. They'll check your Medicaid eligibility. Don't wait until a stranger shows up at your door. If you have Medicaid and need help at home, this care is available 100% free to you. Call Freedom Care now to see if you qualify. 314-907-0892. 314-907-0892. That's 314-907-0892.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
It's Cardinals preseason exhibition play today as they face the Nets. Pregame at noon. First pitch 12:10. And you can hear the game streaming on Cardinals.com.
We were talking about the street takeover last weekend and the police response being overwhelmed just by the number of young people. And a couple of things on that, John, and I have questions for you. Although I do want to note the curfew that will be enforced tonight and this weekend starting at 10 p.m. is for 17 years old and younger. And we mentioned the 14-year-old girl and the 17-year-old who were shot. We also know there were those who were 26 and 28 and in their 20s who were shot. So the curfew would not apply to people in their 20s.
Yeah.
We have a texter. So, again, take it with a grain of salt here, but a texter says that their nephew heard about the street takeovers on social media, saw that they were going to happen, and drove an hour and 20 minutes west of St. Louis to go check it out downtown.
Wow.
So
with gas prices what they are, that was quite a commitment.
It was a commitment. And another 636 says, I'm an older guy, but I'm pretty sure the police can track on social media to find out when and where these things are happening, which I agree makes sense. It did feel that the police were overwhelmed. I'm not sure how much they knew, what they knew, if they knew it was multiple locations. But the information was out there, it seems.
It had to be. It had to be coordinated. And maybe if you were aware that here are the locations where people are being told to go and you've dispatched the police there early and they start turning people away as they show up. I mean, that might have been a way to thwart it. Who knows?
John, you mentioned the police departments, we have 55 police departments in the St. Louis area, correct?
Yeah.
And you drive through 14 different police departments.
To go to the airport.
To go to the airport.
Yeah.
When Sam Page, the St. Louis County executive, talked about combining some city and county services, was he including police departments?
I don't know. If I had a magic wand, Amy, I would not. So Sam Page's proposal was to bring St. Louis City as a municipality into St. Louis County. That's what he proposed. If I had a magic wand, I would dissolve the city and make what is currently St. Louis City and St. Louis County, make that St. Louis. Okay. So it's a city of 1.2 plus million people. And now you get all of the efficiencies of governance that come with that. And you will have to figure out a way to create villages or some entity of what are now municipalities in St. Louis County. So they wouldn't go away, but all of it would be St. Louis. And St. Louis, with 1.2 million people, would be the 20th or 21st largest city in the country. And what we now spend on government between St. Louis City, St. Louis County, 90 some municipalities in St. Louis County, 55 police departments in St. Louis County, county offices in the city, county offices in the county. What we are spending on government in St. Louis is appreciably higher than just about any other place in the country, and maybe the most expensive of any like-sized city in the United States of America. And that would take some doing, but that would be what they would call a unified city, which is what they've done in Nashville and Indianapolis and many other places that are thriving. And in a perfect world, I'd love to see a police department for St. Louis. And but dissolving these 55 police chiefs out there, I mean, you think about just the amount of overhead all that is, and I don't think realistically, I don't think you're going to be able to liquefy 55 police departments that exist. But from an efficiency standpoint, from a city planning and management and budgetary standpoint, that's how I would do it.
Now, of course, we talked a lot of talk about the state takeover of the city police department. And my guess is that right now, in some ways that is relevant, in other ways it's not, because the biggest discussion with the state takeover of the police is I know they're trying to expand the budget to raise salaries and benefits to hire more police officers. In what way does the response this weekend relate to the state takeover or not relate to the state takeover? Because I know there are those who are saying, oh, well, look at the state is failing. The police weren't there.
I mean, you can't, if you don't have the numbers, you don't have the numbers. And one of the things, so we're under 900 officers in the city. The real question, though, because some fairly significant percentage of the officers we do have are what we call white shirts. They're not actually on the streets policing, patrolling. And so the functional on the street presence of police in the city of St. Louis is appreciably less than 900. And that's something I don't hear discussed very often. One possible solution to that, and they've actually done this in Hawaii, because the police department's a union, they collectively bargain their salaries. The police officers in the white shirts tend to make the most money. They got the most seniority, so forth. What they did in Hawaii was they incent the on-the-street police officers with what they call hazard pay. So they're able to increase the amount of money, not across the board, but for the officers who are on the street patrolling. That would be a creative way to consider, at least for this police board, if they are trying to make being a city police officer more appealing economically for folks, young people just out of the academy, just getting trained and on the street. That might be a creative way to look at something like that. When
Mayor Tashara Jones was first in office, I know there was a transfer of funds, I want to say like 7%, from the law enforcement police department to other areas.
Social work.
Yes. Has that been replaced?
I don't know.
Has that been transferred back?
I don't know. But that was at the heyday of the defund the police movement, coming after the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis. And police departments all over the country who had progressive leadership in place were cut. And St. Louis was among them. Whether that's any or all of that has been restored, I just don't know.
Well, it is a continuing conversation. And I do know that with law enforcement in the city of St. Louis, the police department is so short-handed. And you can have the best intentions and policies, but if you are just outnumbered and are operating at a capacity that is way below what is necessary for your city, you are behind the 8 ball.
And think about, if I don't know how many officers are in St. Louis County, it's a knowable number. But if all of those officers plus all of the officers in the city of St. Louis were one department, the coordination, the response, the ability to send real numbers into things like what happened last weekend, you would have that. And yet we've got this artificial boundary at Skinker that prohibits us from being able to do that. And at a minimum, we ought to be able to have some sort of joint cooperation between the city and county police officers. I see county police officers outside of Busch Stadium every time you go to a game. But those folks are being, in most cases, hired by the Cardinals and paid by the Cardinals to have that police presence there. But none of us have gone to a Cardinal game and not seen, walking in as we walk in, St. Louis County police officers in the city of St. Louis. And that would be a way to begin to address this shortage if we could take that combined force and deploy it as needed.
Yeah, and people need to feel safe. I always give the example of Forest Park and the way that the security is in Forest Park with the St. Louis police, with their constant visible presence, whether it is St. Louis City Police cars or, park ranger cars. That is such a gem, such a treasure for the city of St. Louis. And people come from all over the area. We talk about, people in the county don't want to come downtown. Well, they come downtown when the Cardinals are winning.
Sure.
They come downtown for Blues games and for the parade. They'll come downtown or go to the city, technically, with Forest Park and the zoo. And you feel so safe there. And you're like, okay, this operation here, how do we expand that to the downtown area so that there is that presence? Some of it is just numbers. And like you said, it could be also in cooperation with the surrounding police departments.
So they've got this entertainment district that they've formed. And Bob O'Loughlin, Hospitality and Lodging Management, or the other way around.
Yes.
Lodging and hospitality. So he owns and operates Union Station. And he spends, I don't know how much it is, but I would guess millions of dollars a year paying police to come and police Union Station. Union Station is very safe.
Yeah.
But that's a private business spending its private money on police officers. And I'd like to live in a place where that wasn't necessary.
Yeah. But I mean, with any city, you're going to need law enforcement. Ranj and I talk about this. There's a lot of crime in Chicago.
There's crime in every city.
There's crime in every city, but there are people in Chicago.
Right.
And I do think, when you come downtown for a big event, whether it's a city game, the marathon will be here in a couple weeks, and people are just all over downtown and in the city and in South City and in North City and across the Arch grounds. The Blues Parade, Cardinals games.
Yeah.
There is an element of safety that comes when
With
there
numbers.
are people
Yep,
around. Yes.
absolutely right.
And so, like I always do the Where's Waldo thing. Every city has crime. Every city has Waldo. In Chicago, Waldo is on a crowded beach. In St. Louis, Waldo is the only guy on the beach.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And so, but you need to have that safety as well to get people downtown. And then it's kind of cyclical that way. That's John Hancock. I'm Amy. Mark Scores. A couple things we want to get to. Maybe this new SLU YouGov poll. I'll ask John about it. Also, a really interesting moment with Donald Trump and conversation about Japan.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
Okay, I have some really good news. While we do have the 0% a lot, we do have it on our regular products because you will be unbelievably shocked, especially if you call me and I'll give you the straight up scoop on how much money you can actually save by if you spent $20,000 versus $10,000 on a system. The difference could be as little as, I don't know, let's just say, not to exaggerate, 5 cents. So be careful out there, and always remember your energy savings is based on your house. It is not based on the equipment. So common sense advice and help and guidance. Again, call me, Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. The easiest, 314-293-2600. Again, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Or on the internet, that is bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Retiring soon? Get the information you need by joining Kyle Jones and Matt Allgeier of Fire Capital Management for your retirement highway, Sunday mornings at 9:30. Investment advisory services made available through Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities made available through AE Financial Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
The smartest way to spend your money is not to. Straight Talk offers free 5G phones for new and existing customers on Verizon's 5G network. So the refund money I don't spend on that free phone is the refund money I get to keep for my family. Smart.
Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Taxes and fees apply. Plan purchase required for free phone offers. Copyright 2026 Verizon.
St. Louis Composting presents The Sounds of Spring.
Swing it along, and there it is, baby. The Cardinals take the lead as
Albert Pujols comes through in the pit.
Obviously, the fans are the best fans in baseball. I got caught up so much into, the fans and the celebration, and everything that's going on with the Hall of Fame.
It wouldn't be opening day without a special tradition unlike any other. Please welcome the majestic hometown Budweiser Clydesdale.
Might leave the park. He did it. A grand slam, and it's 4-0.
And the pitch on the way.
There she goes. Way back. It might be. It could be. It is a home run.
Enjoy your outdoor space this spring with vegetable gardens and fresh landscaping. With St. Louis Composting, order online for delivery or pick up premium soil, compost, and mulch at any of our 9 locations. St. Louis Composting, growing gardens, making memories.
NeoVitan began with one doctor's mission to help others feel their best. After years of caring for patients, Dr. Ken Ribicki, a St. Louis physician, created NeoVitan, a line of multivitamins designed with quality, safety, and everyday wellness in mind. Each formula is made in the U.S. using the finest domestic and international ingredients to support real people living real lives. Discover the difference today with NeoVitan, available at Schnucks, Dierbergs, and neovitan.com. NeoVitan, trusted nutrition from St. Louis for St. Louis.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready.
And get ready for the workday.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
The Chris and Amy Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Amy Mark scores alongside John Hancock and Brad Young.
Brad Young
who
has joined the party.
Waltzed himself right into
Yes.
Studio B
Oh, yeah.
because if you're not early, you're late.
That's exactly right.
That's what they say. Okay, I do want to get to this because if it weren't so consequential and terrible, it would be hilarious. And this is Donald Trump yesterday. Yes. Speaking with the president leaders in Japan.
One thing you don't want to signal too much. When we go in, we went in very hard and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay. Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay.
So he's sitting right next to the prime minister of Japan, who had a visceral full body reaction. And like I said, if it weren't so consequential, it would be rather funny. But either of you can take this, or,
Go ahead,
Brad Young or John
thanks.
Hancock. I believe the president is insane. And I feel like every day there are 2 or 3 comments, whether it's him talking about taking Cuba, I can do whatever I want with Cuba, I'm going to take Cuba, or talking about Gavin Newsom having intellectual disabilities and then accidentally calling Gavin Newsom the president of the United States, to sitting next to the prime minister of Japan. I feel like any one of these things could be 25th Amendment discussion. Of course, it will never happen because the cabinet would have to be on board.
Right,
and I
right.
feel like whatever the cabinet equivalent of the 25th Amendment would be is also appropriate. So is it just that he has thrown so much, Brad, at the wall that we can't even respond?
There was a phrase during the Reagan administration, Teflon Ron, okay, because nothing stuck to him.
Yep.
And Trump was right when he made comments. It was crude, it was crass, he should never have said it. But when he said that he could do certain things and get away with it, he was accurate. And
He said he could shoot people on Fifth Avenue
Yeah.
and they would still vote for him.
Correct. I mean, to some extent. But But I don't look at him so much as what he says as being crazy. What I look at it as being unfiltered, because frankly, we all think crazy things at times. We just don't say them. And he is unfiltered, which to me bothers me. I want the leader of the free world to be filtered. Words matter, and particularly when they're from the president. But when you talk about with the prime minister of Japan, what I found interesting is that when he greeted her, when she came up to the White House and he greeted her outside and she got out of the limousine, he stuck out his hand to shake her hand. She bypassed his hand and went for a full hug with the president. All right. Right now, the relationship between the U.S. and Japan has perhaps never been stronger. If we get into a shooting match in Southeast Asia, Japan will be our primary ally in doing that, along with Australia and South Korea. So, yes, is it a gaffe? Yes, is it inappropriate? Yes, should he have not have said it? All of those things are yes. But the bottom line is people know now, I'm really not going to listen to the stupid stuff that President Trump says, because they are stupid and they are potentially damaging. But right now, I don't see that it's going to create any rift between us and Japan.
Well, okay, so then let's take Japan out of it here, because I will say, even if you could say that was unfiltered and kind of funny, I do feel like some of the things that he has said are either crazy, unconstitutional, or both. The way he talked about Greenland, the way he disparages important European allies,
Yes.
the way he'll lie about which countries have served alongside us or lost military members, the way he just talks about taking Cuba, and it's so unconstitutional and very un-American. Sometimes he sounds like he's empire building.
Well, what we know is that he's being treated for something. He's most likely taking IV injections through his hand and the makeup that he
no question
puts. We know he's got the vascular issues with the swelling of his ankles and so forth. Not particularly healthy lifestyle, something I can relate to. And but I think the possibility that he's suffering from some sort of dementia at this point is a discussion that ought to be had in this country. When Joe Biden was obviously in decline, that debate performance that he had with Donald Trump, the many gaffes and the just streaming off into, meaningless gibberish at times. We were talking about it nationally. We were talking about it.
Well, let me disagree with you. We were talking about it. Conservatives were talking about it.
Yeah.
But the mainstream media was not talking about it.
Fair.
Okay.
Yep.
And now
Until later, because then Jake Tapper obviously talked about it, and there were
After the
on
fact,
CNN. It was later.
Right. It was only after that debate performance, that debacle, really.
Right.
All right. But before that, there was tons of evidence that there were problems. Now, what I think is interesting is the mainstream media suddenly has discovered the 25th Amendment when they seemingly forgot about it just a few years ago.
But then Fox stopped talking about it, because if Fox were being equal, Fox
Correct.
would say Donald Trump has said more outlandish things and seems to be dropping the ball just as much as Joe Biden did.
Agreed.
So I
Agreed.
do feel like the jersey wearing, you're seeing from Fox, you're seeing from, at least at the beginning with CNN.
I am jerseyless over here.
He's got no jersey. He's got to go catch up on
leaving.
snooker.
Yes.
That's John Hancock. Thank you very much, John. Brad Young sitting in with me for the next couple of hours. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
Just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, "Ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers?" eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Hola, amigos! Brad Evans here. Check out this booming voice and Pat Boyle on BetMGM tonight, covering the biggest sports stories from coast to coast, live and interactive on the free Odyssey app, discussing NFL offseason news and getting you ready for the madness in college hoops. BetMGM tonight with me, Brad Evans and Pat Boyle, live and interactive, Monday through Friday night, starting at 6 Eastern, presented by BetMGM. Always live on the free Odyssey app and watch on YouTube at BetMGM tonight.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Celebrating 100 years of informing and entertaining. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. The voice of St. Louis.
It's 10 o'clock. Sunshine in downtown St. Louis and 67 degrees. I'm Debbie Monterey. As the war in Iran finishes week 3, CBS News White House correspondent Natalie Brand says President Trump wants more money for the military.
Both the president and Defense Secretary Hegseth were asked about this figure, more than $200 billion. They didn't dispute it, indicated they would be going to Congress, but also talked about needing this money beyond Iran to replenish stockpiles into the future.
The FCC has approved a merger of TV station owners.
Nexstar is buying Tegna in a $6.2 billion deal. Nexstar will own 265 television stations, about 15% of all the stations in the U.S. The FCC okayed the merger on the same day the attorneys general of 8 states and DirecTV filed separate lawsuits seeking to block the deal. They argue the merger will create an illegal monopoly, push cable prices higher, and hurt local journalism. Nexstar has been consolidating newsrooms in communities where it owns more than one station. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
This merger would have Fox 2, KPLR, and KSDK 5 all under the same ownership. Jeffrey Epstein recommended a now shuttered Missouri boarding school to a mother asking him for advice on her daughter. Wings of Faith Academy, a private Christian boarding school for troubled girls, is accused by many former students of physical and psychological abuse. Same with Agape Ranch for boys nearby. The troubled teen industry is a hotbed of abuse, says Kansas City Attorney Ryan Frazier, who specializes in sexual abuse cases. He tells The Independent these facilities operate in Missouri because of lack of oversight by the state. The recommendation by Epstein came to light in the released Epstein files. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta says the long lines persist as TSA officers continue to work unpaid.
Several of the flyers that we have spoken with in recent days say that the best that they can do is plan and hope for the best. Meanwhile, the headaches may keep coming as jet fuel prices are surging because of the war in Iran, leading to higher fares and possibly more canceled flights as airlines look to save money on fuel costs.
From the KMOX business desk, less than a decade ago, the city saved an historic nightclub from demolition, but now the city's Land Reutilization Authority is accepting bids to tear down Club Imperial in Walnut Park West. The authority says the building has significantly deteriorated over the years and is now a safety hazard. Club Imperial became a nationally known venue to see artists like Ike and Tina Turner, Dolly Parton, and Chuck Berry.
Mostly sunny and very warm this afternoon with a high near the record of 86 set back in 2017. Partly cloudy tonight, though 50. Sunny and very warm tomorrow, high 80. Sunday, partly sunny, breezy, quite warm in the afternoon, the high close to the record of 88 set in 1907. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It's now sunny, 67 degrees in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterey, KMOX News.
The Chris and Amy Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Brad Young filling in for Chris Ranji, who is visiting the wife and kids in Chicago. I'm Amy Mark Scores, and super honored to welcome into Studio B Elliot Davis, because if you grew up in St. Louis or you're a lifelong St. Louisan and you don't get the phrase, you paid for it, then I don't believe you. You didn't grow up in St. Louis. You have to know that phrase. Elliot Davis, who had been with Fox 2 News for 45 years. Thank you for joining us in Studio B.
Yep, 45 years until I bailed out a year and a half ago.
You realized, I think I've changed my mind after 45 years.
I had a ball. I had a good time, and I decided to leave while I was still on top.
Yeah.
And I had a great send-off. So, I left. It was a good time to go.
But what I wanted to reach out to you, and the reason why I called you last week, Elliot, was because what I think is fascinating with new media is that you have now retired from Fox 2, from one of the preeminent broadcast TV stations in the St. Louis area, and yet you've gone to a new media doing essentially the same thing now, right? Without a producer, without the constraints of TV news,
without a boss
telling you, oh, that story stinks. Don't do that story. Okay. How many times did you hear that in your career? Right. Countless.
No, not really.
Really?
I didn't hear it a whole lot. I did more investigative stories.
Exactly.
And so the station really liked, and kind of hard news, investigative reporting of the type that I like to do. So I didn't hear it as much.
Okay. But the point is now you're doing pretty much your same thing that you're so good at, but now you're doing it on social media. I know you've got over 200,000 followers on Facebook.
210,000.
Okay. Well, one of those is mine on there, just so you know.
Thank you.
But what I wanted to ask you, and the reason why I reached out to you was this. Tell us about how doing what you do. Everybody knows Elliot Davis. Tell us about how doing what you do for yourself on Facebook. How does that differ? What do you like about the freedoms, constraints? Are you still able to earn some money? I'm not going to ask you for your 1040. Don't worry. But just talk to us about how that transition happened and how you're experiencing being an investigative journalist today, but doing it for yourself.
First of all, I'm not interested in the money. I've decided that I didn't want to get paid. Even though we do a lot for the homeless, I use my own funds to do it.
I noticed that with water and food, you were doing all of that recently with your own money.
So that nobody can say, well, he's using the homeless to make money, or he's taking advantage of them, in order to get paid. So I didn't want to do that. So I didn't want to be in that kind of box. I'm not trying to use Facebook for money because I don't want to be at anybody's mercy. I want to say what I want. And so I don't want anybody to say, well, let's go. If he says something we don't like, let's go to his advertiser and try to get him canceled. And let's boycott the advertisers. Yeah. So I don't have that. So it's like I can say exactly what I want.
Wow.
And the third thing I would say is I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And Amen. The Lord really led me, even when I decided to leave Fox 2. I got a word from the Lord, said time to go. I said, good. It turned out to be a great time.
Yes.
When you look at everything going on, it turned out to be an ideal time. So I follow my faith and I try to put my faith in action. And so there are a lot of things that I do in that regard because I am a Christian. And my mission really is to help people, the unhoused and others who are struggling and suffering. And so I still do those stories, but I can do it more aggressively. In TV, you couldn't pay somebody because it would look like you were paying for an interview.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
now I can help a mom, for example, who's about to get thrown out of a motel. I can help pay some a week for her to stay in the hotel. And there are homeless mothers that I've been helped for a year. And so I get to do what I want, and I get to say what I want. So I don't get those calls in the morning from the news director that says, blank, blank, news general manager is furious.
Yeah.
I got those
Really?
calls a few times. Says so-and-so is furious.
Yeah.
When I decided to take on the Pentagon for something once.
Okay.
But that's another story.
Is that a story for now? like, wait a minute.
That sounds like a great
Because I have
story.
a couple of stories in my basket here in the pocket that I'm like, I need to ask him about this. What was the Pentagon one?
Well, that was it was a captain of an aircraft carrier, and a lot of his crew had contracted COVID, and he was telling the Pentagon that the carrier was not battle worthy, and he said, "I'm coming back into port because we got to park the ship. It's not." And the Pentagon was saying, "Well, you can't stop carrier operations." Well, I agreed with the captain, and so I wrote this post of how the Pentagon was off base and the Navy Department was off base. Its captain was right, and I absolutely sided with the captain. While all these Navy veterans calling, so well, what does this guy know about the Navy?
Yeah.
And so they got funneled to the general manager's office, and then he called the news director, of course, and said, "Tell Elliot to take that down."
Wow.
So we're not battling the Department of the Navy.
Yeah,
this station.
that's a tough one to battle.
If you're going to pick a fight, you don't pick a fight with someone that has guns, planes, and bombs. Okay, I'm just
Navy.
saying. Just saying.
But what the heck? If you're going to do it, do it.
Well, that's right. If you're going to pick a fight, pick a big fight. Doesn't get much bigger than the Navy. But you also, going back to your time with Fox 2, and kind of rather famously, you would, if politicians or leaders didn't want to give answers, you would kind of chase them down. I know there was the famous Rod Blagojevich running away from you.
Right.
What was the significance of that, and how did that affect your career or even the way politicians responded to reporters?
Me and my photographer, Larry Washington, I give Larry Washington a lot of credit for you paid for being successful, because without the video, I'd be radio.
Sure,
but,
right.
Which is great, but we were on a television station. So I had a great photographer who never missed those moments. And what they weren't used to is that I was not going to leave their embarrassing moments on the cutting room floor. That's the stuff that I would put on. I said,
absolutely.
we want this, like Traveling Man. Guy said, "Are you a traveling man?" And people remembered then, or Joe Ortworth, who said, "Elliot, Jesus loves you." Or Dorothy Moore, who said, "Who you think you fooling with?" And the list goes on and on. And but the philosophy we had was, we're going to get answers from these people. We're not going to accept just a no comment or just I don't want to talk because they're on the public payroll. And so we're going to catch them at the public meeting. I would not go to anybody's house. I wouldn't catch them at their Little League baseball game or anything like that. And so we would always catch them at a public meeting where they were on taxpayers' dime. And so they didn't know how to deal with my style of journalism at first, because I was just strictly irreverent, and I didn't care. We would call the governor's office, and I'd done this a number of times, and about an issue, and they'd say the governor didn't want to talk. And I said, well, okay, let's start over this way. I'm going to catch the governor when he makes a public appearance, and I'm just going to hit him up with questions. And I said, I prefer not to do it that way. We can do it the easy way
or the hard way.
Or the hard way, but we're going to do it. So let's start this conversation over. I did that with the White House once too, with the president, but that's another story.
We're talking, of
So many
course.
stories.
There's so many
I like
stories.
all these follow-up questions.
We're of course we're talking to Elliot Davis, and Elliot, one of the things you just mentioned is that you had a fantastic photographer. Well, you don't have that fantastic photographer now.
And he got shot. And by the way, that was one of the most traumatic.
Oh my goodness!
What happened with that?
You want to know about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't just throw it out there.
No, you can't.
And
If you're gonna
leave us hanging on every word.
if you're throwing the bait in the water, buddy, we're gonna bite. Okay. So,
well, we were doing a story about a towing operation that was overcharging people for this towing. It was in Wellston. It was under the, and he was essentially gouging poor people and charging them a lot to get their car back. And what we understood also is women would have to do sexual favors to get their cars back. So this was a no good operation. So I started doing stories on it. He didn't apparently like my stories. And so I even found out from police that he had a contract out on my life.
Oh,
but that
my.
never stopped me before.
Oh, my gosh.
That's going to happen. It's part of doing business. So she's got that look. But anyway, so we're out doing a story and doing a stand-up, right, for my on-camera appearance. And we hear these pops ring out. And I'm thinking, it was in May. And I was thinking, it's not the 4th of July. It's still May. And then my photographer walks around the corner and said, I'm shot. He'd been shot in right here in the shoulder. And it just barely misses carotid artery.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
So we, that was a tough one. And I drove him to the hospital and everything. He survived. He was out 18 months and came back and continued working with me. He went all the way to Vietnam without getting this is Larry Washington. He was in the Army, went all the way to Vietnam without getting a scratch, only to get shot and almost killed working with me in Wellston. But that person later went to prison because, as we found out, it was a cocaine ring, and he got busted on that. Once Larry got shot, it got high profile. The U.S. attorney got involved. The FBI got involved. And the U.S. attorney at the time was Catherine Hanaway.
Okay.
And that's who indicted him. And he went away for 10 years. But we had all kinds of adventures.
Wow.
But you said, no, I'm my own photographer now.
Okay, well, that was what I wanted to get to because
I digress.
Now that you don't, that's okay.
We asked you to.
Listen,
we asked you to be fair. Yeah.
These are great rabbit trails to chase, okay? But now that you don't have a photographer, that's one of the things I wanted to get at that's different with this new media position that you're in, because now you are essentially your own photographer.
Right. I like an MMJ. Yeah. And I like this better, because when I get to decide everything I want to do, we, like I said, just recently caught up with the presiding commissioner of Franklin County, and we were talking about the data centers, and that's a hot issue out there.
It is.
Well, I was able to walk in the building, go live, and so I'm going live, walking down the hall. So we're going to try to catch up with presiding commissioner Dave Schatz, and I walk in the door. I had never met Dave Schatz. I only knew the name and kind of the position, and so I walked in the door, and the first guy I saw, he opened the door, let me. I said, I'm trying to find Dave Schatz. He said, that's me. I said, boy, great.
Perfect.
And because I was rolling all this time, and I was on live, right?
Wow.
So the benefit of social media is that you can capture the moment, and so there are moments that you can just get, and you don't have to wait until 5 o'clock to put it on the evening news. I enjoyed television. I started working in social media about 2014. So for 10 years while I was with Fox 2, I was also working social media. As a matter of fact, I got to a point where I was more focused on social media than television. And the news director would, I would get a call from the managing editor, a guy named Joe Lamey, and he would say, and I'd be on doing a Facebook Live, and Joe would call and say, Audrey, news director wants to know, are you planning to get this on TV? Can we have this story that you're doing?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Because I had gotten so,
Yes.
involved in social media. So
That's incredible. And that ended up being, the way of the future, the way of now. Elliot, do you have a few more minutes to hang out with us?
Absolutely.
All right. We're gonna keep him here in Studio B for a bit longer. That is Elliot Davis. Yes, that Elliot Davis in with Brad Young and me, Amy Mark Scores. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
For decades, Morgan & Morgan has represented hundreds of thousands of people at their hour of need. Injuries on the job, car crashes, medical malpractice, and nursing home abuse, Social Security claims, dangerous drugs, and dangerous products. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason, and no firm is even close. Then we got to thinking, what if we could prevent these terrible events before they occurred? So we built the AI-powered People Protector. Simply visit peopleprotector.com and type in the product you have questions about before you buy it. Children's toys and accessories, cars, drugs, products, you name it, we got it. With our success, we decided to pay it forward for all of America. Our way of saying thank you for your trust all these years. Morgan & Morgan, protecting America. And if you've already been injured, just visit us at forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
My car smells fresh, so fresh, always so fresh every day. My car smells fresh, so fresh, like I cleaned it yesterday. Got that Febreze car on the vents, living life with that just clean freshness. Febreze car, if you know, you know. Up to 40 days a scent on low. My car smells fresh, so fresh, always so fresh every day. My car smells fresh, so fresh, like I cleaned it yesterday. That's right. Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Dave. Right now, buy 2 windows and get 2 free and 0% financing for 36 months, plus $500 off your project. Call 314-334-2522. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
Unlock a brighter outdoor space in 2026 with Chesterfield Valley Nursery. Let us be your trusted partner for all your landscaping, lawn, and gardening needs, empowering you to create a haven that brings joy and serenity to your life. From landscape design to property maintenance to our garden center, we're here for you. Houseplants, tree shrubs, organic soil mixes, gardening and plant classes, and more. Chesterfield Valley Nursery's Garden Center has what you need no matter what the season. Visit us weekdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday hours start in March. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram for all class and sale updates.
Looking for a career change? Well, the Gelman team with eXp Realty is hiring. Their unmatched blueprint to success, real support, and proven systems help agents take their business to the next level. Level up your future and earning potential. Take the first step at thegelmanteam.com.
Still here, still trusted. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Elliot Davis, kind enough to spend a few more minutes with us on the Chris and Amy show. Brad Young in for Chris Ranji. And we have a texter, Elliot, that says, Elliot Davis is a hero if there ever was one.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I know we have so many stories and questions for you, stories that we want to hear from you. But we were talking about what happened downtown last weekend with the street takeover, with the violence, 7 people being shot. And I know that you have some thoughts on everything. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I've been posting about this, and I've been talking about crime for a long time. And my feeling is that the progressive element in this city really has not done enough to deal with crime because, I mean, it's not like they're pro-police. They were looking at defunding the police until that was no longer possible. And so it's a problem that I won't just blame on Kara Spencer, the current mayor. It goes back to like Mayor Slay way back. And it's people have overlooked the crime in the city, and then they try to come up with some kind of pacification measure, and so they'll have a news conference and tell you how the crime numbers are looking better. Only 140 murders. Well, in some of the posts I do, I talk about communities that have 10 murders or 20 or fewer. So I think that, unfortunately, the progressive element that's running the city, they don't want to talk about criminals. They don't even want to use the word criminals. And until you can talk about them, you need a dual approach. You need officers. You need to get the additional officers. You need to send out a signal. They don't have a news conference. You don't hear the mayor and the board of aldermen. And then that last one didn't do it. The one before that didn't do it. Talking about, okay, we're going to get a handle on this crime. We're going to get these criminals. We're going to make these cities safe. First, send out the message. Then you not get the officers to deal with crime. And then you have to reach the people who have not become violent criminals yet. And so you have to set up programs for them. I went to Buffalo, New York, for example. I'll make it real quick. I went to Buffalo, New York, for example, when I was with Fox 2, because their crime numbers have dropped. Buffalo had 27 murders, by the way, the latest numbers. And so I wanted to see, basically, they had been able to drop the number of homicides, right? And I went to Buffalo to do a story and see how they did it. One of the things, they built a job training center in the middle of the inner city. They took this old factory or something, and they built this big job training center, but went a step further and got with the biggest companies in the region to get them to agree to hire the people that graduated from this job training center. And so it's not like you graduate and then you got to go hunt for a job. No, you had people in big companies, right, with good benefits who said, yeah, we'll hire them. And so that actually helped drop the homicide number. But you need the carrot and the stick. You need law enforcement. And like I said, we went through the whole Kim Gardner period. And we went through other periods where we really didn't see a lot. We didn't see kind of a law and order. So compare that to St. Charles. For example, you can say what you will about St. Charles and Madison County. They take a tough position, and St. Charles may have had like one homicide or something like that. But it's the signal they send. The violence in downtown is a product of officials in St. Louis having done nothing consequential about crime in this city for one administration after another for 50 years.
And when you look at it from that perspective, Elliot, don't you see that when you have a long, enduring, entrenched crime problem in the city, it affects companies that want to locate here. It affects companies that want to leave downtown. It affects our ability to draw conventions. I mean, doesn't it have a direct economic impact on the city?
It absolutely does. And like the city wants to spend $500 million on the convention center while we still have this crime problem. And so you can spend $2 billion on a convention center. If it's a crime-filled city, how many people going to want to come? And so conventions are down. I'd rather go to a safe city where I felt safe walking around, not walking in an area like we saw in downtown where there's like gunfire, indiscriminate gunfire. So, yeah, it impacts. I read a lot of stories about all the businesses, big companies, Peabody, a lot of other people leaving downtown St. Louis, part of the reason being the crime. And so, yeah, it does. St. Louis has lost, it's one of the 3 cities in the United States that's lost the most population. Since 1950, St. Louis has lost 63% of its population. They used to have like almost 900,000 people. Now it's like 280,000 people today. And so a huge impact where we see whole neighborhoods hollowed out. We're going to have a crew in here. That means a mayor's administration, as well as a board of aldermen that's intent on doing something about crime. They're going to have to send out that message. They're going to be supportive of law enforcement and also of other programs to help people before anything is done. But the crew we got now, they don't want to do that. The progressives we got now, they don't want to do that. And so we're going to continue to have the problems we're having.
It's really interesting what you bring up, too, about the carrot and the stick. You may have already talked to him, but Thomas Apt, he's with the Violent Reduction Center at University of Maryland, has been on the Council for Criminal Justice. And he talks about that, how when you look at violent crime in cities, the criminals, the people doing the shooting is actually a very, very, very small number of people. It's so small. And you focus on what he calls hot spots or hot people. And he also mentioned saying they have to know that law enforcement is there and that they're watching. But also when it comes to the carrot, he said you also have to have a community center where you're looking at behavioral therapy. You're saying to someone who might be going down the wrong path, what do you need? Do you need a driver's license? Do you need help with this? Do you need help with a job? And giving them resources also to try to change that trajectory.
It's like a little cancer can cause a big problem.
Good point.
So, you say, well, and they say it all the time, it's only a few people causing a problem. Well, when cancer starts off, it starts off little, basically, not as much, but it grows into a big one. But like, for example, a lot of times they don't have basic questions. Well, what's the home life? You've got to find a way to reach the family. Ultimately, no program can do what parents can do. So you have to be able to reach those parents. What's the problem? When a kid has got an issue, right? Well, what's his home life like? Can we do something about that? And these are reach the nonviolent people right, and say, okay, what's home like for you?
And you've actually raised a bigger issue, Elliot, and that is that I've seen the stats, you've seen them too, that children that come from families that have both the mother and the father, those children tend to do better. They tend to be more successful. They tend to have less crime, so forth. Do you see any benefit, and what could St. Louis do to emphasize the importance of making sure that dads stay in the homes?
Well, yeah, a lot. That's a real complicated question.
It is.
And I don't
But,
know how
but you're a brilliant guy, so I can ask you
not
that.
me. I don't know how you solve that problem because it's like a lot of it's economic, some of it's racial, some of it's upbringing. And so it's 3 million reasons why dad is not in the home. Some of it's federal bureaucracy that the women can't have the dad in the home and still, for example, get Section 8 or whatever the case might be. Some of it's laws. And so it's going to have to change culture. And right now we have this culture that's glorifying guns. If you listen to some of the rap music right now that people hear from the time they're growing up, it's demeaning women, glorifying guns, and doing all the negatives. When I was growing up, the songs obviously were dramatically different. Guns were not really even talked about or glorified, and women were praised as opposed to being demeaned. Well, a lot of people are growing up with these influences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to wonder by the time they get 17, it's kind of a lot of it's locked in their head. And so we have that kind of culture that's built up. So we're going to have to figure out a way to change that. But most immediate thing, like I said, it's not rocket science. There have been mayors who've come along. Rudy Giuliani was one of them who did it in the 90s. I mean, no matter what you think of Rudy Giuliani right now, and I'm talking about back during the period before he was America's mayor. At one time, he was celebrated. But back in the 90s, New York was terrible. New York was going straight downhill.
And he cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up.
And he used something called the broken windows theory, which is that if you want to tackle big crime, you start with tackling little crime. And as you start to tackle that little crime, you develop this idea that says, we won't tolerate crime. We won't tolerate even the big crimes once we're accustomed to not tolerating the small crimes. And I would love to see that approach here. But you're right. The current administration in St. Louis wants to do nothing about that.
Well, we've got, and like I said, it goes back. It goes back all the way 50 years. Go back to Francis Slay and Vincent. Slay was in for 12 years. He didn't do anything to stop the crime. And so that's why I won't. Yeah, the mayor, Kara Spencer, needs to do more. I won't put the entire blame on her because I look at Francis Slay, who was in the office 16 years, and he did nothing to deal with the serious crime problem. Mayor Vincent Shamer was in like 12 years or something.
Right.
And these guys did nothing. So I won't put all the blame on Tashara Jones and Kara Spencer, even though, they haven't really addressed the crime either. But it's just they're progressives. And long as voters vote in these progressives to run the government, don't expect anything to happen about crime. Expect situations like in downtown St. Louis to happen. Don't expect law enforcement to be able to do but so much because their hands get tired. The Board of Police Commissioners have really done nothing about crime. I supported state takeover because I felt that would be fairer for the officers. They would get a fairer break than dealing with the defund the police crowd. I felt it would be fairer for officers, but it hasn't done anything about crime in the city. And I questioned the police board president once, Saraceno, I think that's his name. And I said, what have you guys done to reduce crime? He said, well, the chief has done this and that. I said, but the chief was here before you guys got here.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing? And so nothing has changed since the Jeff City took over the police department, right? And that whole deal, state control, and I was for state control, but nothing has changed. This police board has done nothing to reduce crime. They're not saying anything. They're not sending out a stern message to the bad guys. They're doing nothing as far as I'm concerned, and crime is still just as bad as it was, even with those guys.
Elliot Davis, we appreciate you coming in. We're going to have you come in again. We're out of time, but we could talk to you a lot longer. So thank you so much for coming in. People can follow you on Facebook, where you've got 210,000 followers. We're probably going to double that just from this morning.
I said I would keep it nice today.
Well, I appreciate it. Elliot Davis, from. You paid for it. Fox 2, 45 years. Thank you so much. That's Brad Young. I'm Amy Mark Scores. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
Hey guys, it's Dave from The Glover Show, trying to explain The Glover Show. So when I was a younger man, I used to go to happy hour almost every night, and I loved it. And I've always thought of my show as being like happy hour. It's always interesting. It's often silly, but not always. You know, there are real things to talk about amongst friends, politics, and personal things. So that's what it is, really. It's happy hour for thousands of us every day between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. And I hope you'll tune in and join the happy hour.
Guys, we're getting to the good stuff in college basketball season, and FanDuel Sportsbook is here to help you have even more fun. And, of course, FanDuel Sportsbook is the official sportsbook of KMOX. It is my official sportsbook as well and has been, well, going back years. Since before it was available in Missouri, I would have to play in Illinois or elsewhere when I traveled, and it's phenomenal. And they are always doing something to make the games better for you. As an example, FanDuel's offering an early win on your pre-live moneyline bets for college basketball when your team goes up 10 points, and it stays a win no matter how the game ends. So be clear, win or lose, if your team takes a lead of 10 or more points, that's a win for you. And don't forget, with FanDuel, you get paid instantly when you win. Just visit FanDuel.com/Missouri to get started. Bet the bracket with FanDuel now. Remember, you have to be 21 or older and present in Missouri to play. Opt-in required. Tokens are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including token expiration, market requirements, and max wager amount. You can see the terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at Michael's Baths. Were you feeling a little embarrassed when the family came to visit for the holidays and all you could think about was your bathroom not quite being up to par? Now is the perfect time to plan ahead for a spring installation of a beautiful new bathroom. At Michael's Baths, we specialize in beautiful, safe bathroom remodels, from tub to shower conversions to full renovations, including paint and electrical work. Call 636-775-0800 or go to michaelsbaths.com. Mike is a great guy, does great work. That's michaelsbaths.com.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now, KMOX weather from the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
Currently, it is 69 degrees. Feels like 75. Partly sunny, very warm, with the temperature tying the record high from 2017, a high of 86. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 51.
You know, here in St. Louis, word of mouth still matters, and I'm pretty careful about who I recommend, especially when it comes to something as personal as estate planning. I'm Tom Ackerman. My family has been working with the Lederman Law Firm for over 20 years now, and the reason is simple. They don't just create documents and send you on your way. They help make sure your plan works. Because let's be honest, life changes. Family needs and circumstances change. Laws change. But most estate plans don't change over time as needs, circumstances, and laws change. They're outdated, sitting in a drawer. People assume they're fine, and their plan will work when they need it to work. At the Lederman Law Firm, it's not a one-time transaction. It's an ongoing process. They build a plan to protect your family and your assets, and then for a fixed annual fee, they help keep it up to date as both your life and assets change. Check out the Lederman Law Firm at LedermanLaw.com or give them a call at 314-514-9100. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Rush Hour Sports, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Bernie Nicholas joins Rush Hour Sports tonight at 5 on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Amy Mark Scores, Brad Young with you as we welcome in Jen Cease, St. Louis City SC broadcaster. And Jen, what in the world is going on right now? I hate to start on a bummer note, but we're still looking for the first win for City SC, right?
We really are. St. Louis City looking for their first win, while LAFC, our opponent, had their fourth straight shutout of the season. So in the conference standings, of course, you're going to find LAFC up near the top, and St. Louis City at the moment in the Western Conference sits at the very bottom spot. Now, of course, it's really, really early in the season. There's still 30 games left to go. But yeah, I think that the main theme that we find is it took till the 73rd minute, I think, for LAFC to score, which actually had our opponent a little bit worried. They were worried they were not going to be able to, get away with scoring. But it did take them a long time, which says a lot about the defense. But of course, the problem for St. Louis City right now is just finishing.
Hey, Jen, we are going to reestablish here. We are having a little trouble hearing you, so we're going to reconnect here. Sounded like she might have been walking deep into a cave.
Yeah.
while we were talking with her. But as she mentioned, City SC, they have 4 matches played. They are 0-1-3. So they have 1 draw and 3 losses, 1 goal for, 6 goals against. So it has been a bit of a rough start. And I think we are welcoming Jen back from the bowels of Merrimack Caverns. Is that where you were?
Is that what it sounded like?
A little bit.
Sorry about that. No, I think my AirPods like to try and just connect to whatever they feel like connecting to sometimes.
No problem.
Yeah, in answer to your original question, we've got St. Louis City SC at the moment, just 4 games in, at the bottom of the Western Conference, not able to come up with that win that we're all looking for. Wow, we played an opponent in LAFC that has had their 4th straight shutout. So they're at the top of the conference. They're a tough team to boot. I think St. Louis City played them very strongly for a while when it came to defense. It took LAFC till the 73rd, I think, minute to score, which frustrated the black and gold for sure. But of course, St. Louis City SC, the theme remains not finishing those important moments in the final third and scoring goals.
Hey, Jen, Brad Young here. And as I've been following City SC, obviously everybody knows that Klaus has departed to the LA Galaxy. So I guess my question to you is, who do you see stepping up as the next breakout attacking star for City SC this season?
Yeah, that's a great question, because right now, for a little bit until Sergio Cordova got up to speed with everything, it was supposed to be Simon Betcher at the 9, that guy who's able to put the ball in the back of the net and or play off of Marcel Hartl, play off of Cedric Toyshirt, and combine to make those goals happen. And so far for Simon, 4 games in, it really hasn't happened just yet. He looked really good in the first game against Charlotte, and then just since then hasn't shown a lot of growth and the ability to connect and make those happen. My question remains of, will it be eventually a new player down the line, or will it be Sergio Cordova? Sergio Cordova has shown a little bit more accuracy in passing. He's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit more dangerous when it comes to the air game. So it makes me wonder if Marcel Hartl and Cedric Toyshirt can combine with him that way. We could be sitting on it at the moment, but we just need to see more minutes with Sergio Cordova.
When a team gets off to a rough start like this, do the athletes have short memories, or does it build a little bit like a piano on your back until you do get that first win?
I love that. It's like the memory of a goldfish, the Ted Lasso soccer comment, right?
Yeah.
I think it's both. I really think it's both. And I feel like it really changes to the individual. I just look at my own kids, and I've got a kid who can play a terrible game, score a goal, and think he played a great game. And it's like, oh, no. That did not happen. I mean, I'm glad you scored that goal, but the rest of it was not good. Where I have another child who, focuses only on the bad. So I think it's depends on the player. When you hear from Yoann Damet, though, in the press conference yesterday, he seems to be sending us the message that everybody's in pretty good spirits, yet of course they're frustrated. They're not finishing those things that they know they can finish, but that his biggest concern right now is, are the players happy and feel like the way they're attacking, the way they're pressing is promising? And according to coach, they are. So it's just a matter of finding those moments to finish and making sure the ball does go in the back of the net when you have that one-on-one chance.
We're, of course, we're talking to Jen Cease, St. Louis City SC broadcaster on Y98. And Jen, despite some of the struggles that we're seeing City SC having, they continue to draw, I think, crazy strong support from the fans at Energizer Park. And from your perspective, how important is that home atmosphere to the team's confidence and their hope to start building some positive momentum?
Oh, there's nothing like a home game. I don't know if you guys have been to a City home game, but it is a fun time. And of course, it's a little bit different than the first year, but I feel like this year is a little bit more of also a reset for the fans. There was definitely fan frustration toward the end of last year, and I get that. I really do get that. Where maybe you would see a few less, especially when it came to challenging weather. But this season, we start to see them come. It's been really cold for some of those games. We see fans turning out, go in the warm up in the concourse, and they'll come back out. So I think it's really important that, St. Louis City is a soccer town. But of course, you guys know it from the other sports that we play. St. Louis City also likes their sports teams to be successful. But the fans do continue to come out. Shout out to all the supporters groups. They are big drivers of that. And the marches remain strong from Schlafly over to the stadium and so on and so forth. So I think so far, if they can come up against New England this weekend and have a home win, I think that's going to do a lot for a little bit of hope that the St. Louis fan base is looking for.
And City SC does play New England tomorrow night at 7:30 at Energizer Park. It's 80s night, which I love. I'm a huge fan of the 80s.
Are you going to tease your hair? Are you going to tease your hair? And we got to get a lot of hairspray.
The higher the hair, the closer to God.
Hey,
that's
listen,
what they say.
In the 80s, I actually had hair, so that's the difference.
I mean, big hair, big shoulder pads. I'm all about it. Jen, I actually have a coach/mom question for you because you mentioned your kids and how one kid could play a terrible game but score a goal and think they played really well. The other always focuses on the negative. And then you said, well, actually, it was not that good of a game. Do you tell your kid that? Do you say, hey, buddy, I know you scored that goal, but here's where you fell short?
Okay, here's what I do. After probably messing up a few times, I ask them in the moment, do you want me to be former player who maybe you're playing my position, so I think I know what you want to do. Do you want me to be coached because I have coached teams and I've coached them before? Or do you just want me to be like supportive mom right now? Let me know. And it's so funny. They always pick wrong. They always decide to go for it. I'm like, okay, if you want some honesty, here we go. And they're like, oh man, should have picked supportive mom.
I love that you give them the option. I know Chris Myhill, who was the executive producer here for a long time with Charlie Brennan.
Yes.
He said his son one time got, I don't know, for whatever reason, when he was little, grade school baseball, maybe CYC baseball, and he had to pitch. And he walked 5 or 6 consecutive batters. And
you want to get away?
Yeah, and they scored, multiple runs or whatever, and then they took him out and they put someone else in. And on the way home, Chris Myhill said, I was going to ask him about the game, so I just said, hey buddy, how did the game go? How did you think the game went? And he said, the biggest smile across his face, and he said, it went great. I didn't give up a single hit. He was thrilled.
I'm telling you,
thrilled with his performance.
Typically, I find out that those people, if you look at the sports, there's always a position that's got a little bit of crazy in them. In soccer, it's the goalkeeper, maybe a striker. And I feel like in softball and baseball, it's a catcher, pitcher, or maybe a third baseman. But I feel like there's always some profile of an athlete that's able to see the higher points. And that is, I love hearing that story. That's fantastic. He was right, technically.
Right. He didn't give up any hits. Well, Jen Cease, thank you so much for joining us. As we mentioned, City SC, they take on the New England Revolution tomorrow at Energizer Park. And you can hear the game on our sister station, Y98. Jen Cease, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. That's Brad Young. I'm Amy Markscores, and we actually had some breaking news earlier in the show that Chuck Norris.
Yes.
Chuck Norris has passed away at the age of 86. We're going to talk about that next. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
For 100 years, KMOX has been a part of St. Louis. Now, those moments live on, preserved, remastered, and ready to be heard again. Discover KMOX from the Archives, a podcast featuring classic audio from a century of service.
Sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, the genuine, the original.
The KMOX from the Archives podcast, available now at KMOX100.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight. Dr. Jean Wang, a WashU Medicine gastroenterologist at Siteman Cancer Center.
Once you're 45 and over, even if you're not having symptoms or even if you don't have a family history, we recommend everyone get screened for colorectal cancer because everyone is at risk. Everyone is at risk, even if you're not having symptoms.
This is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and for more information, you can visit siteman.wustl.edu.
St. Louis's unofficial holiday is almost here. It's Cardinals opening day, Thursday, March 26th. And KMOX's Cakes and Eggs, presented by Budweiser, is back. This year with a new twist. You don't need a ticket to enjoy KMOX's live broadcast at Cardinals Nation inside Ballpark Village, featuring Cardinals alumni, front office personnel, special guests, and so much more. First come, first served. Doors open at 9 a.m. Celebrate opening day with Dirt Cheap Budweiser and Rally House. More info at KMOX.com/events.
Are you struggling with hearing loss? Do friends and family complain that your TV is too loud? Are you tired of asking people to repeat themselves? If you want to hear clearly again, but don't want a bulky hearing aid that makes you look old, you need to try Atom X by Audien Hearing. The Atom X is a life-changing breakthrough, precisely designed by top audio engineers, fits comfortably in your ear, is nearly invisible, and lets you adjust your sound so you can hear conversations clearly, at home, at dinner, or on the go. And right now, you can try the Atom X risk-free for 45 days. Call Audien Hearing now at 800-295-HEAR. That's HEAR for a 45-day risk-free home trial with free shipping and money-back guarantee. The Atom X is lightweight, rechargeable, practically invisible, and costs 90% less than prescription hearing aids. Don't miss out. Call 800-295-HEAR for complete details. That's 800-295-4327. Hearing for everyone. Audien Hearing.
When it comes to your hearing, you deserve expert care. At the Audiology Center, you're treated by certified audiologists Dr. Colleen Bosler, Dr. Adam Foss, and Dr. Bailey Campbell, meaning 8 years of advanced education, clinical expertise, and a commitment to best practices.
Charlie, we offer hearing aids from all major manufacturers, so you get what's best for you. Every patient receives individualized testing, precise fittings using real ear measurements, and personalized programming to ensure your hearing aids perform exactly as they should. And our care doesn't stop once you leave the office. We're committed to helping your hearing aids last through ongoing adjustments, maintenance, and long-term support at no extra cost. Better hearing is personal, not one size fits all. Call us today at 636-441-7470 or visit us online at theaudiologycenterstl.com. And let's take that first step together.
You can feel the Clydesdales circling the field, hear the stands come alive, smell the hot dogs, the popcorn, and cold beer in the air. See the crowd rise as the first pitch hits the glove. And just like that, a new season begins. The countdown is on until opening day, and tickets start at just $49. Don't miss St. Louis's favorite holiday. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/opening day.
Swings, and it's a high fly ball. That's hit deep. It's a gunner! It's a gunner! And a game winner!
Start the season in style on Saturday, March 28th. The Cardinals welcome the Tampa Bay Rays for a spring showdown downtown. That day, you can score a lightweight Cardinals pullover, a navy blue look built for early season nights and easy everyday wear. Comfortable, classic, and ready for cool evenings at the ballpark. It's a layer you'll reach for all season long. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Chris Ronchi, Amy Mark Scores. The Chris and Amy Show on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Thank you, Chuck Norris.
Thank you, Peter.
Chuck Norris has passed away at the age of 86. And of course, the first thing so many of us think about are the Chuck Norris memes and the Chuck Norris jokes of how superhuman he was.
Well, he's actually had my favorite meme of all time.
Okay.
And that was around 2021 when I saw a meme of Chuck Norris drinking what looked like a Big Gulp, except on the outside of the Big Gulp, it said COVID. And he's drinking it with a straw. And to this day, I still laugh when I think about that meme.
There are so many like that where like Chuck Norris doesn't get the vaccine like has to take something from Chuck Norris. I don't know what exactly or
when Chuck Norris does push-ups, he pushes the earth down. Yeah. There's tons of these.
Yes.
And but I don't know if you know this, but do you know the story about how he got into acting?
No.
Okay. Well, I've seen many interviews with him, and he would talk about this. What happened was he won the middleweight national championship for karate in the 60s. And Bruce Lee came to see him win the championship. And afterwards, he and Bruce Lee became friends. They started training together.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bruce Lee said, listen, I'm going to do this movie. Why don't you be in it? And Chuck was like, well, I've never acted before. And he said, it's okay. We're going to do a big fight scene. You're going to be the villain. And Chuck Norris asked, who's going to win the fight? Because I don't lose. Chuck Norris said, I don't lose. And Bruce Lee said, well, I have to win. I'm the star. And so he got into acting because of his friendship with Bruce Lee.
Really?
And then he went into, I don't know if you want to call it real acting, but he was also best friends with Steve McQueen. And Steve McQueen said, you can do more than just fight scenes. You can actually act. I'm going to help you. And so Steve McQueen worked with Chuck Norris to make him into an actor, not just a fighter on screen.
I did not know that Steve McQueen and Chuck Norris were friends.
Best friends.
Which people are probably like, Amy, you idiot. Everybody knows that. I didn't know that. And because Steve McQueen, I always say is so cool.
Cool. Oh.
There is an era of cool. And I always go to Steve McQueen, and then I go to Robert Redford and Paul Newman, like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. No one will ever be as cool as that.
Never.
And to see Chuck Norris and Steve McQueen arm in arm, like buddies, hanging on each other, that is so cool. All I know is when I was 8 years old, 7 years old, Walker, Texas Ranger was my favorite show.
I love that show.
I
loved that show.
And sometimes I see clips of it and I'm like, what? It was crazy, but I loved it.
With Clarence Gilliard as his sidekick.
Yes, that's right.
That's right. Who also, of course, was in Die Hard, which is a movie I watch every Christmas. But Walker, Texas Ranger. And if you watch that now, knowing that Chuck Norris trained kind of how to be an actor with Steve McQueen, you can see in Walker, even if you think about when last time you saw it, you can imagine and see in your mind's eye him trying to exude that coolness.
Yeah.
And I am certain that he learned that from Steve McQueen.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. Well, some of the Chuck Norris memes or jokes come in and they're so simple. Like Chuck Norris can slam a revolving door.
Oh, of course.
The vaccine was every year the flu gets a Chuck Norris vaccine. And
or Chuck Norris doesn't sleep. He waits.
He waits. Yes, that is exactly right. There is no chin behind Chuck Norris's beard. There's only another fist. Like it's pretty good. And he did have it's funny because it became a caricature of himself, right? In the sense of like the Chuck Norris meme hood grew even bigger than Chuck Norris, but you kind of started to believe that he really was invincible.
Sure? Absolutely, you did.
Yeah.
And obviously he wasn't, and we mourn his passing, but he made an indelible mark.
Yes.
On United States culture.
With his fist.
With his fist and feet.
That's Brad Young. I'm Amy Mark Scores. I have a question about the show Jury Duty and the Jury Duty 2, which I think Brad and his extensive legal expertise will be able to answer. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Pump up the volume. Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM.
If you live in Missouri, have Medicaid, and need a caregiver, this message is important. Care at home is personal. That's why you may not want a stranger in your home to take care of you. You want someone who already knows you and your daily routines. With Freedom Care, you choose a trusted family member, a friend, or a neighbor. They will get paid after every shift to care for you, and it's 100% free to you. More than 70,000 people have already joined the Freedom Care family. Call your local Freedom Care. They'll check your Medicaid eligibility. Don't wait until a stranger shows up at your door. If you have Medicaid and need help at home, this care is available 100% free to you. Call Freedom Care now to see if you qualify. 314-907-0892. 314-907-0892. That's 314-907-0892.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
The trusted voice of St. Louis. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
It is 11 o'clock. We have a few high clouds, otherwise sunshine, and 70 degrees right now in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterey. Chuck Norris, martial arts master and actor whose toughness became internet lore, has died at the age of 86. The martial arts grandmaster and action star known for his roles like Walker, Texas Ranger, died yesterday in Hawaii, and what his family described as a sudden passing. They did not release details about his death. A Georgia woman has been charged with murder after taking abortion pills. CBS's Stacey Lynn.
The 31-year-old went to the ER with severe pain she experienced after allegedly taking the pills at home. According to medical records, the newborn was delivered at about 22 to 24 weeks. Each showed cardiac activity but later died. Police charged her with felony murder, alleging the pregnancy was well beyond 6 weeks.
This is believed to be the first case of its kind since Georgia put in its strict abortion ban. In an AP interview, Reverend Sarah Trone Garriott, an Iowa state senator who's running for Congress, says one interaction in particular got her interested in running for political office.
I was at the Capitol the first time Iowa tried to ban abortion at 6 weeks, and I saw my state senator across the rotunda. And I ran over to him and said, what would happen to a woman with an ectopic pregnancy if this bill passes? And he said, what's that?
Support for young adults suffering from psychosis first requires supporting the medical professionals administering the care. While that may seem like a no-brainer, Dr. Kate Hardy tells MissouriNet many of these specialized professionals are struggling due to high rates of burnout and staffing shortages. She says the instability professionals are facing is starting to have an impact on patients as well.
Typically, people in programs on average for about 2 years. So knowing that your providers are going to be there, that there's going to be consistency, is a really important component of that.
A Granite City man has been found guilty of breaking into a woman's home and attacking a police officer. The Madison County State's attorney says 52-year-old Victor Danson was found guilty yesterday and could face up to 30 years in prison for breaking into his ex-girlfriend's home in March of last year. She previously had changed the locks because she was afraid of him. And when a police officer arrived on the scene, Danson kicked the officer and threatened to kill him. He was previously sentenced to 17 years for a conviction in 2023 where he broke into a different ex-girlfriend's home and stabbed her. From the KMOX business desk, Missouri gas prices are up 26 cents today compared to last Friday, according to AAA's Missouri Weekend Gas Watch. They say the statewide average is $3.38. That drivers in St. Louis do face the highest prices, while drivers in Joplin experience the lowest in the state. The war in Iran has virtually choked off the Strait of Hormuz. That's shaking up markets and pushing prices higher. Countries reliant on imported fossil fuels are facing major disruptions that can quickly ripple through utility bills, food prices, transport costs, and electric grids.
This afternoon will be unseasonably warm for the first day of spring, with sunshine and a high near the record of 86 set in 2017. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, though 50. Bright sunshine and warm tomorrow, high 80. Partly sunny, breezy, and even warmer on Sunday, the high near the record of 88 set in 1907. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is mostly sunny in downtown St. Louis, 72 degrees. I'm Debbie Monterey, KMOX News.
Built on a century, focused on today. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Brad Young sitting in for Chris Ranji, who is visiting the wife and kiddos up in Chicago. And whenever we have Brad, I get all of my legal questions and I stick them in my pocket and I collect them for when Brad joins us so I can ask him all of these things.
And you will get my bill.
Oh, that's right. You can send it to Steve.
Oh, sure.
Steve Moore, please.
Yeah, he'll file it right in the trash can.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so Brad, there is a show called Jury Duty.
Yep.
And it was on a couple of years ago, and they're doing a season 2 Jury Duty corporate retreat, or company retreat, I should say. And the premise of Jury Duty was they have all these people going in for jury duty, including, there's like one guy that they're following. And they have a case, and they have judges, and they have everyone in court, and day after day they have jury duty. The thing is, it's all fake. Everyone, the judge, the defendant, the plaintiff, the jurors, everything is fake. It's a show, except for one guy who thinks it's real. Even the actor James Marsden.
Yeah, I read that.
Yes, he plays himself, and he's kind of an over-the-top, actor, a little diva-ish.
Yeah.
And he's on jury duty, and they film this whole show. And after the show is over, I guess they tell the guy, hey, what you've been living is fake. It's a simulation. This case doesn't exist. These jurors don't exist. And then they air the show. They get his consent and air the show. And my question is that, I guess it's legal, but it feels a little scary to me.
It does.
That this guy, when I say he was living his life for weeks thinking he was going to jury duty, only to find out that everyone he had been talking to for weeks was acting. James Marsden said for a couple years after that show, he kept in contact with this guy because the guy had to go to therapy.
Yes.
Because he had trust issues.
Right.
So is this a gray area?
Well, no, it's not a gray area at all. Because obviously if he thought it was real, then he did not sign any kind of a release.
Yeah.
Okay. He couldn't have, knowing that it was real. And if they tried to give him a release, but tried to stage it like it was a court-ordered release or something, it would be invalid because it was procured by fraud. But here's the biggest issue. When I've read about this show, I never watched it, but I've read about the show. And when I've read about it, two things jump out at me. First is unlawful detainer. So if I lock you up in my basement, all right, that's not only is that criminal, but it can also be civil. If I lock you in the basement and say, Amy, I'm sorry, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to feed you oatmeal for the next 6 months and you can't leave.
Yeah.
Okay. When you get out, Number one, I'm going to jail. And then secondly, you're going to sue me for unlawful detainer. Secondly, there's a cause of action called intentional infliction of emotional distress. And jury duty screams out for that because this guy had psychiatric problems.
Yes.
He had trust issues. He had damages. He may have lost his job. He may have been unable to have relationships with women because of his trust issues. There's all kinds of possibilities that in terms of damages, and he could sue the producers of that show for unlawful infliction of emotional damage. And I think he would be very successful in that kind of a lawsuit. So I just question how that show could even move forward with that premise because of the potential for liability.
Right. That's the thing. They said, well, after they are done filming, once it's all wrapped up, then they tell him, hey, joke's on you. We've been filming a reality show. For the most part, we've been filming a reality show. We just need you to sign off that we can air it. And he signed off. But like you said, it's how they gathered all of that content, how they filmed all of it, is that during that time, he believed it was real.
Yep.
And again, it was in 2023. And the man who didn't know was Ronald Gladden. He was a young solar-powered contractor who believed he was doing his civic duty. And so the scenes are scripted, but all the actors have to adjust to Ronald Gladden.
Sure.
So the season 2, it's called Company Retreat, where this guy thinks he got a job. And he goes on a company retreat with all of these other new employees thinking it's real. And then obviously at the end of the show, they'll say, joke's on you. This was all a show. And I just don't know how the in the meantime part, the part where he believes it's real and his life, he's making life decisions based on believing the company retreat is real. Just as Ronald Gladden made life decisions, said yes to things, no to things, because he thought jury duty was real.
Here's how that would play out legally. I would love to see what they had him sign at the end of the show when they say, hi, this was all fake. Because if that contains a release agreement, for example, they could say, all right, we're going to pay you $1 million now in exchange for you signing this release and your approval to allow us to air the show. If he signs that, then he is already being compensated for any damage that he would have received, even if that amount was $20. Okay, the amount of the money is irrelevant contractually. So if he signed it away, that's a problem for him. But secondly, here's my greater issue from a production standpoint. Okay, follow me with this. Let's say they do the whole show, and then at the end they say, "Ha, Mr. Gladden, this was all a fake. We need you to sign this so we can air it and you can release us." What if he says no? If he doesn't give his permission to have his image aired, then the production company who's invested tons of money to put this gag together over a large period of time, that show can't air.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, he has a right to his image, and that image cannot be used commercially unless he gives his approval. So if you follow that to its logical conclusion, and he says, I'm not going to sign off on the release, then at that point, that whole show goes in the trash can because they can't air it.
So people may be wondering, well, how did he not know it was a show? Didn't he see the cameras and the boom mics? Well, yes, because what they tell you,
it's being televised.
It's a documentary.
Oh, it's a documentary.
It's a documentary, or it's being televised. Yes, that it's a documentary. So even if he signed a release for his image for that documentary, wouldn't that be false pretenses?
It would. It'd be fraud.
Yes.
It would be procuring his approval by fraud, and it would be unenforceable. That release would be unenforceable.
So James Marsden was being interviewed on NPR about this, and he said he felt kind of bad from season 1, the original Jury Duty.
Sure.
Like I said, because the Ronald Gladden had to get therapy. And even when James Marsden would call him, anytime Ronald Gladden interacted with a new person, he would ask them, are you real? Is this a show?
Oh.
Do you know how psychologically tormenting that would be? What if he's single and he meets a new girl and he's like, is this a show? Is
Right.
this restaurant a show? And he said he struggled with that. It gives me the ick in a real way.
Well, and the reality of what you're saying, Amy, is that, for example, my wife's grandmother, somebody broke into her house while she was there. They conned their way into her house when she was like 70 or maybe late 60s. They conned their way in. She was a widow. They conned their way into her house, and they may have stolen a couple of things, but nothing significant. But the most significant thing they stole was her sense of well-being.
Yes.
Because as my wife tells the story, from that point on, her grandmother was more afraid, less outgoing to help people in need, because her sense of safety had been stolen by these people that talked their way into her house. And that was something she could never regain. And I'll bet you the exact same thing as you've described it is what's happening with Mr. Gladden.
It seems awful. Okay, so moving on to another question. Well, we've got you. The multiple states have challenged President Trump's decision to revoke the basis for U.S. climate regulations. And could you kind of set the table with, I know we had interviewed someone before, like if Donald Trump says, hey, these are the certain scientific findings we found that helped us set the standard for climate regulations, but we're revoking those. What exactly was revoked and what are the states suing for?
Well, here's the problem that oftentimes President Trump does not, maybe he understands it but doesn't care.
Okay.
Maybe he doesn't understand it. I don't know what's in his mind. But I will tell you that many times he attempts to use executive orders to override existing laws. And legally, that cannot happen. All right. An executive order can never override a statute. So when you look at what statutes are in play here, the Clean Air Act I think the Clean Air Act was from the 70s. I don't have the exact date memorized, but in the Clean Air Act, it specifies certain types of regulations that controls gases, pollutants, and so forth. So an executive order cannot override what's in the Clean Air Act. There's multiple other statutes that are at play here. So what these states are doing, I think there's more than 20 states joined by, I think, even Washington, D.C., have filed this lawsuit to block the executive order, stating that it's invalid because it violates federal law.
Does that seem like a clear-cut case to you?
Yes. And what executive orders can do, let me give you one example.
Okay.
Very quickly, the Clean Air Act specifies exactly that the government has to keep track of the emissions from automobiles. And based upon that, actions can then be taken. What President Trump has done is he said, we're not eliminating that. We're just reducing it to zero. We don't care what they tell us. We're just not going to enforce it, but we're still going to comply with the law. I don't know if that is going to stand under judicial scrutiny because he was trying to skirt the law. And what one can support President Trump. I'm not suggesting that anything to the contrary. What I am suggesting is that whether you're President Trump, President Reagan, President Biden, President Obama, it doesn't matter. When you issue that executive order, you're bound by existing law. And if you want to get something done, then the only mechanism to do that is to get a bill through Congress to change the law. You cannot do it by executive action.
Yeah, I guess what President Trump did with reducing it to zero, as you said, is that the opposite of when before marijuana was legalized, when states would reduce the penalty for smoking marijuana to something that's less than a parking ticket?
Yes, exactly. Same way. And that way you can still say it's illegal and yet the punishment is effectively zero. Now, the problem with marijuana today is that under federal law, because it's law, marijuana is still a scheduled drug and it's still banned under federal law. But look at how many states, including Missouri and Illinois, have legalized it. So now you have this dissonance between state and federal law. How do you resolve that dissonance, that conflict? And the way the federal government has chosen to resolve that is to simply say, unless you are trafficking large amounts of drugs, we're choosing not to enforce federal law when it comes to marijuana. Well, I don't like that, all right? Because if it's law, enforce it. If you're not going to enforce it, change the law. So that I'm troubled by that. And that's not anything that President Trump has done. That's been the policies of the last 4 presidents, that unless you're trafficking boatloads of marijuana, we're just going to look the other way.
Is there just no appetite within Congress?
Which is, I don't know if you were trying to make a joke there, but if they're using the marijuana, there would be an appetite. Yeah.
That's Brad Young. I'm Amy Markscores. Brad was a world traveler, spent some time in Taiwan. So let's ask him about it next. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
I'm Ultima Morgan. Morgan & Morgan isn't just an injury firm. It's our family's life work. It's my husband. It's my sons. It's me. When we take a case, we see a family just like ours. $30 billion recovered is something I'm proud of. But what I'm really proud of are the families we stood beside. It's an honor to fight for you when you need our support the most. Morgan & Morgan, for the people and your family.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Looking to build your dream home? Lombardo Homes has become synonymous with quality, luxury, and customization, offering thoughtfully designed homes in the area's most desirable communities. And for the month of March, we're giving you even more room to live. For a limited time, receive a free finished recreation room in the lower level, perfect for entertaining, movie nights, a home gym, or whatever fits your lifestyle. This special incentive is available in select communities and only during the month of March. Visit lombardohomes.com to explore and be sure to ask your sales manager for details.
Spring cleaning is upon us, but there's one meaningful box that you don't throw away when cleaning out your closet. It's the box filled with your family's important videotapes, film reels, and photos. Hi, I'm Adam Baselogger.
And I'm Nick Mako. We started Legacy Box over a decade ago to help families organize and update their analog media to digital.
Legacy Box is simple and easy. It works and is safe. Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box.
And Legacy Box has been featured in Good Housekeeping, The Today Show, and Rachel Ray.
Legacy Box is like magic, converting your shoebox of memories to the cloud or thumb drive, ready to watch and share.
Declutter your closet by digitizing your media. Become more organized and accomplished, knowing your family's recorded past is safe forever. Take advantage of our spring cleaning sale going on now. It's the easiest task to check off your to-do list.
For a limited time, you can get started for just $9 a tape. Visit legacybox.com/radio to get our $9 sale. That's legacybox.com/radio to get our $9 offer. Legacybox.com/radio.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Working hard but still falling behind? Learn how real estate investing can help you build income and move forward with purpose. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
One city, one voice. KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
So Brad Young got back a couple of weeks ago from Taiwan. How long were you there? Why did you go? How was it?
Well, I wanted to see Taiwan before China takes it over. No, I went because some friends of ours, their daughter married a guy from Taiwan. So we were invited to go over there. And it was certainly a once in a lifetime experience. Yeah. And I won't be, like your uncle that keeps talking about his trip that nobody cares about. But what I found interesting was several things. First of all, English is taught in the Taiwanese schools, but they don't have an opportunity to talk in English, speak English. So everywhere I went, and I saw very few Americans over there.
Interesting.
I always wear my St. Louis Cardinals cap every time I travel. And to this day, they didn't let me down. I always meet somebody from St. Louis when I'm traveling by wearing my Cardinals cap. And I did this time too. So I met somebody from St. Louis area.
Oh, wow.
But very few Americans. But the Taiwanese, they know I'm American because I'm 2 feet taller and quite a bit heavier than anybody else in Taiwan. So
he made the football team.
So yeah, I could be the football team.
You are the football
So to paraphrase Princess Bride there. But no, what's interesting is people would want to talk English, speak English, because they could see that I was an American. That was one thing I found interesting. The second thing that I found interesting was no crime. There's no crime, just like in Japan, no crime anywhere. And the subways, you could eat off the floor of the subways. No graffiti, no trash. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. No trash anywhere and no trash cans. So I kept asking people when I would talk to Taiwanese people, I'd say, how is it that there's no trash cans and yet no trash?
Yeah.
It seems like if there's no trash, the trash should go in the trash cans, right? So where does the trash go if it doesn't go in the trash cans? And I got this bewildered look like, well, I don't even know what you mean. If we have trash, we take it home and throw it away.
Yeah.
And so to me, culturally, it was very intriguing of the cultural differences between us and them.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that about the trash, because in Japan, there's no trash. So we call it magic trash. A bunch of my friends have recently been in Japan, not related, just they've all been going to Japan, and we all joke, are you going to see the magic trash? Because like you said, there are no trash cans,
right?
But there is no trash anywhere. They bring it home. You put it in your pocket. Some people will have a little bag where they keep all their trash in that bag and then bring it home that day.
Yeah. To me, it's interesting. Also, I talked to at least one, if not two people about relations with China.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of my interests is in military technology and in armed service, anything dealing with the armed services. And so I'm very much attuned to what's going on right now between China and Taiwan. And so from a government standpoint, the Taiwanese government says, China's never going to take us over. We're going to fight till hell freezes over, and then we're going to fight on the ice. But the populace doesn't necessarily see it the same way. And so the folks that I talk to about it, and I try to bring it up very gingerly, not just like, hey, what do you think about being taken over by China?
Right.
I didn't do that. But when talking to folks, they were more of the attitude of, if China's going to come and destroy our country by invading it, we would rather just give up and let them take it over, like Hong Kong did. Well, Hong Kong didn't have a chance, or choice rather, because they were given by the Brits. But in other words, just to concede to China as opposed to having their nation destroyed by China. And I found that it was something that I did not anticipate at all.
Interesting. And there are times, well, this happens a lot for me throughout the day, where you realize how much you don't know and you feel quite dumb. I do not know the history of the relationship between Taiwan and China, other than more modern, right? More recent times, and Beijing wanting to take over Taiwan. Sure. And we all know, like in Top Gun 2 and Maverick.
So we're citing Top Gun 2 as the source.
As we all know, this is my only source. If Tom Cruise doesn't say it, but he had the Taiwanese flag on his jacket.
Yeah.
And Top Gun was not. China said, we're not going to allow this movie Top Gun 2 to be released in China if you don't take the Taiwanese flag off the jacket.
Exactly.
And Tom Cruise said, absolutely not. And he's like, we're keeping the flag on the jacket. There is actually a really interesting book about the way China dictates a lot about Hollywood. It's called Red Carpet.
Yes. I'm very familiar with that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's a really interesting book. Charlie Brennan and I spoke with the author, but that's like, the extent of my knowledge. So going back centuries, I don't know much about that history.
Well, historically, Taiwan was obviously very small, an island nation. They were taken over by the Dutch and they were colonized by the Dutch. And then in the late 1800s, it became a colony of Japan. And that lasted until the end of World War II, when General Chiang Kai-shek, who was a general in the Chinese army, left China because of communism, took people with him, immigrated over to Taiwan, and then started a democracy in Taiwan, mirroring the United States. And so that's a brief history.
Yeah.
But so when you look at Taiwan, there's a lot of Chinese influence because the Chiang Kai-shek and all of his people came over from China. There's also a very large Japanese influence. And so you see a melding of that.
Yeah.
But I was more interested in the political angle simply because from what we know in the United States, they're very virulently anti-Chinese. But I began to learn that that's just the government's position, not necessarily the populace's position.
That is very interesting. And like you said, I mean, China would be an absolute behemoth compared to Taiwan if there were to be a conflict. And
well, the biggest chip manufacturer in the world is TSMC, the Taiwanese Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation. The founder of the company has said that he has a kill switch in his office, that if China begins to invade Taiwan, he hits a kill switch and it literally melts all of the manufacturing equipment in the entire country of Taiwan in order to keep China from getting access to chip manufacturing technology. Well, that alone would drop the global GDP by 10%. I've read that multiple times. If he melts all of the chip manufacturing in Taiwan, the global economy goes down 10% because of the lack of semiconductors. So that in of itself would be a monumental economic earthquake that would surround the globe if that happened.
Okay, well, that's okay. In 30 seconds, how concerned should Americans be about China's aggressions towards Taiwan?
I think Americans should be very concerned because if China decides to invade Taiwan, by necessity, it's probably going to have to attack Guam, kill Americans, attack Japan, attack our allies, and attack South Korea. And so right now, because of what we're doing in Iran, we're depleting many of the missiles that we would be using to help protect Taiwan if that happens. So I think we need to be not nervous, but aware.
Wow. Really, really interesting stuff from Brad Young. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
All right. When we come back, Aaron Suleman, Executive Director of the Gateway Down Syndrome Association, will join us. Tomorrow is World Down Syndrome Day. That's next on the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
St. Louis is a baseball town, and the Gas House Gang talks Cardinals baseball. Ackerman, Ranji, Mikolas, and Claims bring informed opinions and real insight. Smart baseball talk from guys who truly know the game. And get ready, Cardinals manager Ollie Marmol returns every Tuesday starting March 31st. Passion, knowledge, the best baseball talk in town. The Gas House Gang, weekdays at noon. We know baseball. KMOX.
100 years. That's how long Overhead Door Company of St. Louis has been repairing and replacing garage doors. A century of trust in St. Louis. Always look for the iconic red ribbon of Overhead Door Company of St. Louis for same-day repair service and no extra charge for evening or Saturday service. Trust your friends at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com. That's overheaddoorstlouis.com.
Now, KMOX weather from the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
Currently, it is 77 degrees, partly sunny, very warm, a high today of 86. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 51.
Inflation is squeezing budgets, and global events can shake markets overnight. If you're close to retirement, this is not the time for, gee, I hope this works out. That's why Steve All and the team at the All Financial Group are hosting an upcoming educational seminar called Retirement Simplified, April 7th at the All Financial Group offices. You'll learn how to deal with rising costs, taxes, crazy markets, and the fear of running out of money. The date again is April the 7th. It's complimentary, but you must reserve a seat. 636-230-8824 or at yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, or registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions. The All Financial Group is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the U.S. government or any other government agency.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's Debbie Monterey, and I think right now we all need something to look forward to, and a nice little getaway is going to do it for me. So I've been looking at this 5-day Arizona trip that I planned in September, and to me, it sounds absolutely perfect, and I would love for you to join me. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stay in Flagstaff because that means cooler temperatures. It's a great home base, and from there, we're going to visit Sedona, the Grand Canyon, and Lake Powell all in one trip. I'm talking about Red Rocks, big views, and that deep blue water at Lake Powell that looks like a postcard. I'm told September is one of the best times to go with fewer crowds, more comfortable weather, and everything's going to be planned out for us. We just show up. If this sounds like something you'd like to do, please join me because I have always wanted to go to the Grand Canyon. Travelwithdebbie.net. That's travelwithdebbie.net, or call Cruise and Tour at 800-383-3131. Space is limited, so don't delay. 800-383-3131. Travelwithdebbie.net.
It's Cardinals preseason exhibition play today as they face the Mets. Pregame at noon. First pitch 12:10. And you can hear the game streaming on Cardinals.com.
Amy Mark Scores, Brad Young with you on a Friday, and joining us now in Studio B is Erin Suleman. She is the Executive Director of the Gateway Down Syndrome Association. Erin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So tomorrow is World Down Syndrome Day, created to celebrate the lives of people with Down syndrome. What do you want our listeners to know about tomorrow?
Yeah, so World Down Syndrome Day was created by Down Syndrome International in 2012. It became a UN holiday. So countries across the globe celebrate this day as a way to celebrate the extraordinary lives of people with Down syndrome, to let the world know that people with Down syndrome have great gifts and talents and beautiful things to bring to the world. So that is what we are doing tomorrow at the Gateway Down Syndrome Association. We are having a dance party and inviting our participants, our families, anybody who wants to join to come out and celebrate these great folks. And then, broader than that, we're just trying to raise awareness about what the work of the Gateway Down Syndrome Association is in our region.
Well, why don't you tell us, I've got some specific questions, but tell us a little bit about the work that your organization does.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the Gateway Down Syndrome Association, formerly known as the Down Syndrome Association of Greater St. Louis, we just rebranded in January. We serve all of Eastern Missouri and Southern Illinois. So we serve about 2,300 people with Down syndrome and their families. So that's thousands of people that we are serving, supporting, and celebrating through our association. And I would say we have probably 4 pillars that we're working on right now. Mm-hmm. One is healthcare, ensuring that people with Down syndrome have quality healthcare, education, advancing inclusive education for people with Down syndrome, empowering lifelong independence, making sure that people with Down syndrome from the moment they're born can live their best possible lives. And then we really want to make sure we're connecting with communities that are otherwise underserved for a variety of reasons. And so because we serve such a large geographic area, we have lots of different programs and services that we are trying to get into communities that might not otherwise have services.
You mentioned therapies a moment ago, and I took some notes because I've been reading recently about some really innovative therapy programs like digital platforms, sensory integration therapies. Compared to like 20 years ago, aren't there so many more treatment and therapy options available today that weren't available even in the recent past?
Absolutely. And so, if you want to look at when we were founded in 1976, there was absolutely no resources for people with disabilities or Down syndrome. My brother was born in 1986. And at that point, the healthcare professionals told my parents that they didn't have to take him home. And that was really very common in the 70s and even into the 80s. There were institutions where they would send lots of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And therefore, at that point in time, the life expectancy of people with Down syndrome was only 20 years old because they were not being the healthcare issues were not being treated. They were not being included. They were not being educated. And so back to your point, so much has changed and there's been so many improvements because of really, really dedicated advocates, caregiver advocates and organizations like mine and many other great ones in the region. But we are continuing to know and learn more about how we can help people with Down syndrome reach their best lives. And it's only because we're caring about this issue now and we're dedicating research dollars that we continue to have to fight for at the NIH and at the state level, but that we are continuing to advocate for these extraordinary lives to make sure that we're learning more about what they need to thrive and that we are making sure the services are available for them to thrive. Early intervention is key for all people with developmental disabilities, including people with Down syndrome. So we got to make sure those little babies are getting what they need first.
Absolutely.
That's so interesting. I did not know that about, you don't have to take the baby home. It's kind of horrific. It kind of shocks you when you hear it. But you talk about early intervention. What would be a couple of those interventions or those therapies that are so important for young babies with Down syndrome?
Yeah, and one of the things that we do, which is why I'm really proud of our association, is that we're the only organization in the region that is connecting with parents as soon as they get the diagnosis. So whether it's a prenatal diagnosis or a diagnosis at birth, we are one of the first organizations that can go in and say, hey, here are all the resources you need to connect with, early intervention, all the great organizations, the state resources you can get, the federal resources you can get. And so we make sure parents are connected to First Steps, which is a great resource in the state of Missouri and Illinois. A lot of times they'll get occupational therapy, physical therapy. People with Down syndrome have low muscle tone. So one of the things we really want to do is strengthen those muscles, get them up and moving and working those muscles as soon as possible so they can, get as strong as possible to walk and to talk and to do all the things that they want to do, like other kids.
Excellent. We're talking to Erin Suleman. She's the executive director at the Gateway Down Syndrome Association. And Erin, the other thing that I've been reading about is some of the medical breakthroughs that we're seeing related to gene overexpression and how some of those breakthroughs are due really to people being passionate and interested and advocating for treatment for Down syndrome. So do you see on the horizon, of course, we don't know how long that would be off, but do you see on the horizon new medications even coming online that could help with the muscle atrophy, the bone atrophy, the cognitive issues? Do you see medications coming online to help those?
Yeah, so I think that's a two-part question. So one thing I would say is it's really important for us to, for the community to understand that what we're trying to advocate for is not a cure to Down syndrome. And I'm not suggesting that that's what you're suggesting.
No, not at all. But just to help, help these individuals.
And but I think people get concerned when they hear about gene editing and some of the things that you're hearing in the news. It can be really scary, like, oh, we're going to take away that extra gene, because what Down syndrome is it's a third copy of that extra 21st chromosome. So we just want to make sure people understand that that is not at all what we are trying to do. Exactly. But I do think that a big part of what we are trying to do is advocate for, like you suggest, more research. And what we want to do with partners like Global Down Syndrome Foundation out of Denver and the NDSS, we want to make sure that the federal government and the National Institutes of Health are prioritizing Down syndrome research so we can understand how to better treat a lot of the common health conditions that people with Down syndrome have, including some of the autoimmune conditions, skin conditions, and one of the biggest ones is Alzheimer's disease. So there is a huge connection between Down syndrome and Alzheimer's disease. Almost 100% of people with Down syndrome will get Alzheimer's disease in their lifetime because of that extra copy of the 21st chromosome. So absolutely continue to advocate for more research to help our friends with Down syndrome and just help them live their best lives like everybody deserves to do. Yeah.
You know, it's with you were talking about the extra chromosome. One of my really good friends, her young son has Down syndrome, and they have really, really cute hats that say extra chromy homie. And so the extra chromy homie, he is adorable, and it's the amount of joy that he brings, you know, to everyone who meets him, or, you know, his family, his sibling. And yes, there, you know, when he was younger, there were some struggles. It was tough, but just all the different the progress he has made has been so fun to see. And with, like I said, the extra chromy homie hats and shirts, which is fun, with World Down Syndrome Day, we also wear mismatched socks, which is really fun. So there's all sorts of socks. So is that something that you guys do too? Like tomorrow, like I'll go for a run and I'll wear mismatched socks just to kind of raise awareness?
Yeah, absolutely. So we totally hope that folks will do the mismatched socks, wear whatever merchandise they have. If they don't have merchandise, they can certainly get it from our website, and just raise awareness about the lives of people with Down syndrome. And I think the mismatched socks came from the notion that, you know, we're all a little bit different, but the same at heart, right? And so just bringing awareness to the fact that we all have little things about us that are different, but we can still celebrate those little differences.
This is a great question that I've had for a long time, Erin, because one of my neighbors, their kid had Down syndrome, and I got to know him quite well for over a decade. We got to be great friends. But when you're educating the community about Down syndrome, what are some of the misconceptions that you have to overcome in the general populace when they encounter someone with Down syndrome?
Yeah, great question. So I would say, you know, some of the myths that we are trying to debunk, the first one's pretty funny, actually. I think a lot of times people will say, oh, people with Down syndrome are so happy all the time. And they have the full range of emotions, just like you and I do. And you probably know that from your friend.
He feels emotions deeply.
Yes, deeply. And my brother has deep emotions just like everybody else.
Yes.
But what we do say is that I think people with Down syndrome, they are very much what you see is what you get. And they might have all the range of emotions, and they're going to let you know what their emotions are. And so they're not playing a game. You don't ever have to worry about, well, are they hiding something, or and I think, you know, so and to that point, we really just want folks to understand that people with Down syndrome are more like everybody else, and they are differently. And you're going to be able to find something in common with somebody with Down syndrome. My brother loves scary movies. He loves Mexican food. He likes hot sauce. And so, you know, who in this room can say, oh, I like one of those things. Let's have a conversation with Andrew about his favorite scary movie. And so that's the biggest myth that we want to try to dispel, is that there is something so fundamentally different about people with Down syndrome that we can't find a common ground, and we can't find a way to be friends or have a conversation with them. And they're very talented and very funny. And my brother works. He's a valuable asset to the Dubuque Coffee Company. So, you know, that's what we're trying to showcase to the world.
Do you know, I'm seeing this with more and more schools, and a few schools in the area too, where if a student age child with Down syndrome can go to school and maybe be paired with a buddy and other kind of programs like that. What do you think of those types of programs?
I think those types of programs are great. I think that we really believe that inclusion benefits everyone. So not just the person with a disability, but as much or more so the typically developing student. That is how we grow empathy and compassion in the general public, is by teaching our young ones about what it means to be different and what it means to be friends with somebody that's not exactly like them. And I think that's a lesson that we can all really use right now, right? Is that we can bridge gaps. And so having people with differences and disabilities in the classroom is so important, and giving the typical peer a responsibility to say, hey, you're going to bring this person who needs a little extra help along is so powerful. So we are fully supportive of all those programs, and definitely want to help schools include people with Down syndrome to the best of their ability.
Well, we're talking to Erin Suleman, Executive Director of Gateway Down Syndrome Association. And Erin, if folks want to find out more about your organization and how they can partner with you, how can they reach you?
The best place to go is to gatewaydsa.org. It's gatewaydsa.org. And there you can find information about how to get involved in our events, how to volunteer, how to donate, how to buy our merch, or just learn a little bit more about Down syndrome so you can be a better ambassador in the community for the Down syndrome community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll have my mismatched socks on in Forest Park tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin.
Thanks for having me.
And again, World Down Syndrome Day is tomorrow. That's Brad Young. I'm Amy Mark Scores. It is the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight. Dr. Jean Wang, a WashU Medicine gastroenterologist at Siteman Cancer Center.
Our young onset colorectal cancer center focuses on the problems that younger patients might have. And we pay attention to things like fertility, support with trying to manage childcare and caring for older parents during that time. It's a great resource for these younger patients.
Visit siteman.wustl.edu.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan. McKelvey Homes is celebrating 128 years with our 1898 anniversary sale, and you get big savings. At Cotterville Trails, take $18,980 off, plus 10 to 15 grand cash at closing on all to-be-built homes. Save even more on our 9 move-in ready homes with up to $53,000 off, plus special financing as low as 5 1/4 fixed for 30 years for qualified buyers. Isn't it time to move up to McKelvey Homes?
Hi, it's Kevin Wheeler here with Gloria Liu of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Welcome back, Gloria. For years now, you've been on KMOX helping families plan their next big move with your Guaranteed Sold program. So for those planning to sell their home this year, what's your best advice?
Thank you. My advice is simple. Do your homework before listing your home. Our market is stabilizing, inventory is tightening and moving fast. In other words, the realtor you choose to sell your home really matters. That's why my sellers love my Guaranteed Sale program. I guarantee to sell your home at your agreed upon price and time frame, or I will buy it myself. I have thousands of buyers in my buyers in waiting database, so your home may already been sold before it's ever hit the market. Higher demand, more competition, and more money for your home.
Friends, if you want a realtor who will guarantee results, call the one that I trust. Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Join us for the Rally With Us MLB Opening Day events on March 25th, 9 to 1 p.m. at the Rally House Brentwood Point location. There'll be a live broadcast, giveaways, and the first 100 customers through the doors receive a Valley House Opening Day scratcher ticket. And don't forget to pick up your Opening Day gear while you stop in. Rally House is your home for outrageously authentic Cardinals gear, on-field hats, jerseys, and apparel straight from the source. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
It's about time delivery worked on your schedule. Same day, next day, or scheduled in advance. However you plan it, the Home Depot delivers the whole job. From drywall to doors, plumbing to paint, we'll get it there when you need it. Because on the job site, timing is everything. You order, we deliver. It's that easy. The Home Depot Pro. It's about time.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, so when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Bernie Miklas here for Saliga Heating and Cooling. Our family's called the Saliga family for 18 years, and we are grateful for Saliga's honesty, knowledge, and professionalism. They're the best. For more info, visit SaligaHeatingandCooling.com.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friend Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage Corporation. Stewie, let's talk about refinancings, and let's just bottom line this. Everyone needs money at some point in their life.
You know what, Dave? There's so many different ways you can make money. Number one, go to a lower rate. If you're financed over the last 3 years, chances are you're paying a higher rate than what you can today. Refinance with the Bagel loan, no closing costs at all. That's number one. Number two, a lot of people are concerned not about the cash flow, but overall interest that you're paying. Go from a 30-year to a 20-year. The rates are lower on a 20-year versus a 30-year. Save hundreds of thousands of dollars. And third is the really easy way. You need cash. I need cash. Take cash out. Refinance now. Take the money you need. Keep the payment the same. It's easy. It's simple. All with no closing costs with that Bagel loan.
If you're looking to save money, get a little cash to your pocket, and do it with the right person, give Stewie a call or a text on his personal cell phone, 314-324-4440, or Google the Bagel Loan, NMLS 226715.
In 1991, John and Cindy Morelli started Morelli Tuck Pointing. As of today, they've won just about every award possible for the tuck pointing business. The BBB Torch Award, the Next Door Neighborhood Fave Award, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. For homeowners, this is a great time to get a free inspection of your basement, your brick or stone fireplace, your garage interior, your porch, and maybe even your walkway. Indoor tuck pointing can be started now. Hi, this is Charlie Brennan. My wife Beth and I have used Morelli Tuck Pointing to work on 2 of our homes now over the last 25 years. We have found the Morelli bids to be fair. Their crews are very polite, and they clean up after themselves. But most importantly, their work is beautiful. Family owned and operated since 1991. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
The Chris and Amy Show on 104.1 FM KMOX and the free Odyssey app.
All right, we are delightful. This is a delightful show. And we love to give away things on this delightful show.
Yes.
And so we are giving away tickets to see Spamalot at the Fabulous Fox on May 5th of this year. And we're giving the tickets away to the 6th caller right now on the contest line, 314-955-1120. To the 6th caller, you could be laughing along at Monty Python's Spamalot at the Fabulous Fox on May 5th. Good luck. Now, Brad, I have to bring you in this conversation because he had a real fit when I told him we were giving away tickets to Spamalot.
I do. I've seen Spamalot many times. I've seen it not on Broadway, but I've seen it at the Muni at least once, if not twice. I enjoy the movie quite a bit, but more recently and more relevantly, there was a headline in the Babylon Bee last week that said, quote, "It's just a flesh wound," says the torso of the new Iranian Ayatollah.
Oh, no.
So, could that be crude? Yes, but I have to tell you, it did make me laugh.
That is pretty good. Between the Babylon Bee has had a few good ones recently. I'm blanking now because I feel like I just showed one. One was The Onion as well. Those satirical headlines, they can occasionally knock it out of the park.
Oh, and my favorite one of the last couple of weeks was it had a picture of Bill Clinton in a uniform, and it said that Bill Clinton selflessly volunteers to help short-staffed TSA with pat-downs.
Oh, no, that's
so...
Poor
again,
Bill.
Bill.
Leave the guy alone.
Well, you remember Hillary Clinton's phrase when she was running for president. Her catchphrase was "I'm with her," and I saw a comedian one time doing a great Bill Clinton impression, talking about his all of her assistants in running for president were quite attractive, and the comedian said, "I'm with her," So, so yes, there's lots of comedy to be mined here.
There is. Well, you got to laugh. If you don't laugh, you cry these days, right?
I know.
Well,
Exactly.
Speaking of crying, if you're crying about our Barch Madness tournament, which some of you are, you have no one to blame but yourselves. We need you to vote at Chris Amy KMOX. Brad Young, have you voted in our Barch Madness tournament yet?
I have not.
Okay.
Because I thought maybe I couldn't.
Oh, you can. I voted.
You voted? Okay,
Yeah.
well, I can vote. All right.
Because see, the thing is, we have a committee.
Right.
And so we crowdsource. What did we have? 120 bars, 110 bars. We crowdsourced like 110, 20 bars in the area. And then the committee whittled it down to 64 bars. And then we have the 4 regions, and you go to at Chris Amy on KMOX. Matt, the round 1 voting ends
Monday morning.
Monday morning.
Quick question. Is it like Chicago? You can vote early and often?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Actually, just once though.
Oh
no.
wait.
Just early. Not
Just
often.
vote early, but not often.
Yeah.
You know, my dad lives in Illinois. He died in 2007. He's been voting Democrat ever since. So,
Well, I tried to vote more than once on the March Madness because I really wanted Hooters South County to advance from the play-in round, but Hooters South County did not advance. I was only allowed to vote once, but you'll want to check out at Chris Amy KMOX. It's in a couple of threads. You'll have to scroll down to the different threads to make sure you vote through our round of 64. That ends Monday morning. Then we'll move on, and it will be a very exciting and no doubt scandalous and controversial tournament. Thank you to Brad Young for filling in.
my pleasure.
For Chris Ranji, who I believe allegedly returns on Monday. This was the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
I love that show.
I
Loved that show.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Money, sponsored